He's got the ball. No! Kansas State stops him. K-State's defense rises up on the goal line and denies Miller.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
3rd and 2 for Utah. It's a run for Jackson. Jaquindon Jackson is through. Touchdown.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Sikkim 365 Radio is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
It's out of the offset eye. Here's the reverse. No, it's McCarthy throwing in the corner. Touchdown, Michigan. Colston Loveland.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
High snap handled by Klubnik. He keeps and walks in. They all went for the fake to Shipley.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And here we go. And we have a full season of college football, regular season and conference championship weekend evidence. There's still the greatness of Army-Navy coming up. There's still the Heisman Trophy and many more awards that are given out this week. But we knew going in that there may not be a lot of movement. And then all of a sudden, Friday night, Utah hammered USC. Saturday, Kansas State beats TCU. And so, in the end, Georgia, Michigan remain number 1. TCU remains number 3. Ohio State moves into 4. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. We have amazing news, of course, in the college football coaching carousel, the transfer portal. But let's start with the semifinals. Did they get it right?
Yeah, they got it right. I think that we were all, and I've thought about this for the last couple of days. We were all so traumatized by years of the committee kind of bending things to fit some sort of narrative that, you know, we're just waiting for the explanation on Alabama out of total fear, but none of it made any sense. I mean, every single thing that they could have said about Alabama, TCU had improved upon, and losing in the title game by 3 points in overtime, not really that bad of a thing when you compare it to who is going to be in if they are out. And the committee's going to have to start thinking about things in more of a, you know, realistic sense with 12 teams or 6 teams that they're going to have to put in, in instead of 4 after the conference champions go in. And I mean, they got it right. It's good. I think it's going to be good games. Bummed for USC though. You know, would have liked to, see at least 4 of the 5 Power 5 conferences represented. But it's everybody else's fault for not playing well enough, I guess.
Yeah, I think they got it right. I don't think that in the end it was that hard of a decision, quite frankly. I think that Twitter made it sound like a hard decision because a lot of people rolled Tide in their bios, thought that they had a logical argument, but I don't think there was really much of an argument. All 4 teams in the playoff either have 0 or 1 losses. The teams that are complaining about being left on the outside have 2 or more, right? Or have 2 in Alabama's case. So I think that simply put, It wasn't that hard of a decision in the long run. I think, as Paul said, people's fear of Alabama or what have you, of just what's happened in the past, Ohio State leaping Baylor and TCU back in 2014. There's definitely, reasons when it's such a small pool to worry if you're one of the, lesser brands, or mostly if you have a brand the size of an Alabama nipping at your heels. I can understand the reason for a little bit of uneasiness, but even through all of that talk over the last few days, I never, after Saturday, really blinked twice about what this field was going to look like. I mean, I didn't think that Alabama was getting number 4. I thought it would be Ohio State. My question was just a matter of, are they going to try to pull the Ohio State-Michigan rematch in the semifinals?
No way.
And I'm glad that they didn't do that, because that would have been so forced, and it would have been such a money and eyeball grab. They would have ruined it potentially happen more naturally in the future. If it happens now, it's going to be freaking awesome.
Yeah.
If they would have made it happen in the semis just to make it happen, I don't think it would have been that great. It would have pulled a big number, but I don't think it would have been natural and as much, fun as it will be if, in fact, it does happen naturally.
I don't think there was any chance, no matter the results of anybody and anyone else other than Michigan, that Ohio State and Michigan were going to play in the semifinals. No matter what Boo Corrigan or anyone was to say about it, they were not going to have that as a semifinal game. Even if that would have made sense.
Fundamentally, it goes back to how it's not fair to Michigan, just like it wasn't fair to, the reason we got all this is because it wasn't fair to LSU that they got to beat Alabama, go to the conference title game, and then play Alabama again. Alabama didn't suffer at all for that loss. They got to go and play LSU again, just like Michigan thumps Ohio State in the fourth quarter of that game and wins convincingly. And instead of getting just one other person after you then go and win the conference title game playing an extra game, get to turn around and play them again, it would have negated that accomplishment, those 2 accomplishments right there. Now, if Ohio State, beats Georgia and then Michigan beats TCU, then heck yeah, like Craig said, let's do it.
Yeah, I think that'll be incredible if it happens that way. I think that would be a build-up like we've never seen before. See Ohio State, Michigan, a rematch for the national title. But, yeah, in the semifinals, you just couldn't do that. That would have been a poor decision. And so I think that, they got it right. I think Georgia's clearly the number 1 team in the country. I think that TCU's more than deserving after losing in overtime. Not without some controversy. Congrats to K-State. You earned that win. But, that was a close enough game where you go if they played a third time, who you picking? So I think TCU deserved it.
Do you know who you would pick if they played a third time?
No, I mean,
I don't either.
I don't know. Maybe TCU, maybe Kansas State. I really have no idea. I'd have to sit there and kind of stew on it a little bit. But, I mean, it's not like one's clearly better than the other at this point through 2 matches. I mean, it's pretty even just like the record is. So I think that's huge for the Big 12 to have one of their teams that's going to be around post OU and Texas exit to make the playoff, depending on what they do. Obviously, they could grow even bigger and more impactful, although that will be really hard against a strong Michigan team. But just the simple fact that it's a non-Oklahoma team making the playoff for the Big 12, I think is massive for the conference, especially leading into this new era where, last year people were talking about who's going to lead the new Big 12. Like, okay, well, Baylor was a logical choice. They had a down year this year. But TCU comes, surging in and takes it even farther to actually book a playoff spot. I actually think, going back to the Alabama thing, that the more logical, the more realistic conversation was whether or not Tennessee should be 5 or Alabama should be 5 versus whether Alabama was getting the top 4. I think that's a more realistic conversation. There's a lot of wasted hot air on Twitter, though. I get it because it's the SEC and because it's Bama and all of that, and Saban's on TV politicking everywhere and all that jazz, but they didn't deserve it, man. They didn't deserve it. I don't care what any fan says. I don't care what any pundit says. They did not deserve it, just because I think the argument this year was basically, well, they deserved it because they're named Alabama. It was basically the argument that it rolled back around to more often than not. No matter where the teams they lost to were when they were ranked at the time, this was not a great Alabama team. It just simply wasn't. Compared to the teams we've seen in recent years, it's not. It's wasted talent, more so than it is a great Alabama team. Now, could they have gone in the playoff and beaten somebody else? Sure, but they didn't deserve the opportunity versus the resume of the other 4.
There was not that win that, the win at Texas early when they were unranked actually vaulted UT into the top 25.
Against Hudson Card?
And there wasn't, Ole Miss is not the same. They lose 2 tough games, but the bottom line is there wasn't that one game with Alabama that you could point to as even part of the argument, even if, as Nick Saban and other fans have said, what if Vegas was to decide, well, if we do that, then why play the season?
Well,
if we
Vegas,
do that based on recruiting and top 25 preseason polls, then why do we even play the season?
If Vegas decided, then Alabama wouldn't have 2 losses.
Yeah, it's true.
No, they would be probably unbeaten up until this point.
Well, and also, look.
But that is not how – it's like endowment in fan base and stuff like that when they talk about TV. It's just – there's always an excuse for some – and I like Nick Saban a ton. They didn't in this particular case this year. One really, really good win would probably have gotten them into the 4, but they didn't have one.
Coach Saban is great at a lot of stuff. He is not really great at politicking because he's never had to before. For example, when he kicked off the Jimbo Fisher argument this summer with what he said, well, was anybody sitting back believing that Alabama didn't have the money to go toe-to-toe with anybody else when it came to college? So they're the best program in the country. You have the money. You got to be the best program in the country because you have the money. The same argument, which was flawed then, that he was making, well, look, who would win? Who's the more talented team? Well, look, Nick, I don't know if you watched you guys play this year, but I don't know that that's true because a lot of stupid penalties, a lot of wasted talent, like Craig said. So if you want to get into the splitting hairs of who would win this game or who has the better players, but you might not want to make that with this roster.
And we're talking too much about a team that's not in the 4, but I understand why. Congratulations to Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and Ohio State for being in the 4. Now, there was this, I saw this a little bit. Ohio State actually moves up without playing. They had a bye week. Technically, they had a bye week, and any team that would have moved up to any of the top 4, if they would have, in a week in which they didn't play for the conference championship, and we have seen that before. I'm not saying it's the first time, but they had a bye week, and they were able to sit back and watch somebody else lose, in this case USC, in a game where Utah hammered them down in the second half. So there's that. That's why if you expand to 12, no matter what the elitists say, that to me, then you don't get in based on a bye. You can have a bye, you earn a bye if you're one of the top 4, but you don't get in because somebody else in front of you lost.
Yeah, I think this was a really interesting weekend for the playoff expansion or playoff anti-expansion folks to have some conversations. I mean, I think that the BCS has a better argument than the 4 this year, and I think the expanded field, with Georgia being as much of a juggernaut as they are, and, we'll see to what level a Michigan is or a TCU is or an Ohio State is. But clearly Georgia is far and away probably the premier program in college football right now. Whether it's 2 teams in the BCS or it's 4 teams in the CFP or it's an expanded 12-team field, they're probably going to be heavily favored over every single team they play no matter what. And I understand that you can kind of just default put them into the next round in any setup or any mock-up, whether it's 2, 4, 12 or whatever, but that's just not going to change no matter what the field is. As far as the rest of the field goes, I think this would have been the perfect year to have the BCS because there's 2 13-0 teams right on top of the rankings, and you just go Georgia, Michigan, and boom, it's done. But it's not always like that every year. And I do think when you look around, TCU could maybe give somebody some trouble. Ohio State could maybe give somebody some trouble. I think it works okay with 4 this year, although this, to me, would have been a year where it's either best to have just the 2 BCS teams or to have the full-blown expanded field. I think the 4, this is like the bad year to have a 4, in my opinion, because there's just enough fringe to argue 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whoever. Even, how about a Utah at number 8? Who wants to play Utah in the first round? You want to play Utah? You want to play? I don't want to play Utah right now. But
that's why the 12 would be great.
Well, that's what my whole point is. What I'm saying is that if you were to have your options this year, I think the 4-team playoff would probably be option 3 of the 3 options because there's either enough teams that aren't in that top 4, like a Utah, for example, like a K-State, like a Tennessee, even though Hendon Hooker's hurt now, but Clemson. Not as much, but Cade Klubnik, maybe that's a fun team to watch with him now securely at the helm. But obviously the BCS would have worked really well. Nobody could have argued Georgia, Michigan. But yeah, the 4-team is going to always leave a lot of debate, especially in a year like this where there's maybe one clear-cut, really super elite team, maybe a couple of them, and then there's probably like 10 second or 1B elite, level teams, and you can sort that out. But I think it'll be fun. I think, certainly there's more debate to be had, but I think the committee got it right in the end and went the right way with this. And I'm not saying that just because a Big 12 team got in. TCU deserved to get in, period.
All right, I'm going to name, and I'm going to do rapid fire. Then you guys can pick and choose who you want to get to. But we have a lot to get to, including coaching changes with Deion Sanders, North Texas. Coach Seth Luttrell, who's been on our show, is out. The change at Louisville. The changes now affects Cincinnati, that affects Louisville, and there's a couple others. DJ Ugalele is in the transfer portal. Devin Leary, Spencer Sanders, Keaton Slovis, Graham Mertz, Eli Stowers, and wide receiver Dorian Singer from Arizona.
I think that if I'm
and Yurkovich from Boston College is going to Pitt.
If I'm somebody who needs a one-year fix at quarterback that can get me over the top, I don't think you can do much worse than Devin Leary. Spencer Sanders, there's a lot of places that fit him. That one really surprises me. But let's see, I'm trying to think of who else. Keaton Slovis, he's going to have to go down. He's not a Power 5 quarterback. Eli Stowers needs to go somewhere where he can actually play at A&M. And the receiver, Singer from Arizona, is probably going to be one of the more sought-after guys.
Yeah, I think we could probably sit down and use some extra time with some of these guys later on.
We will. But I mean,
this is like a bunch of names all at once. But, I mean, Devin Leary's obviously a very capable player. When he got hurt, NC State was not nearly as good as they were when he was healthy. So he'll definitely be, wanted. Spencer Sanders could deserve his own segment, given that we've watched him for the last 4 years in the Big 12. He needs to get healthy, obviously. But he'll be a no-doubter at the top of a lot of boards because of his athleticism and experience and skill set and all those things. I think he'll shoot to the top of, not the very top, but near the top of the quarterback portal rankings just because of what he's done at this point. Keaton Slovis, I don't know. Yurkovich, like you said, I mean, there's that Pitt connection there, so that makes sense. He's going back home. And I think that's an interesting pickup for Pitt, but that's not a surprise that happened pretty quickly because there's just logical connections there. Donovan Smith's leaving Tech. That's not a big name, but, for folks who watch Big 12 ball, that's an interesting name. I could see him dropping down a level just based on what we saw, but he's a good player, and that's of note because they did use him in some special packages once he lost the starting job. But, yeah, Spencer Sanders is the big shoe to drop for me today, although Leary's up there. And
Ugalele?
DJU, Uiagalelei. But, yeah, he lost his job on Saturday. I mean, he officially lost his starting job to the Texan in Cade Klubnik. So I think Klubnik will be their guy moving forward. I don't think there's much doubt about that. I think that there was a lot of people going, why did it take this long? But it's not like Klubnik in his previous appearance lit the world on fire. I don't know if people weren't watching earlier this season or not, but when he did come in, it's not like he just took the job and ran away and they're like, no, let's give it back to DJ. It's like, no, he didn't do enough to just secure it and they went back to DJ. And, well, unfortunately, he's been pretty much the same guy, and he's okay to great at times, and then he's just not very good at times either, or it's a very mixed bag with him, I think it's fair to say, and not what was necessarily projected as the next great big thing at Clemson quarterback.
You mean like the way that we looked at Quinn Ewers or others said about Ewers? I think they're both young,
he was not Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson. Yeah. He was not that level of good. But yeah, he's a solid player that I'm sure will have plenty of suitors, but it was just time for Clemson, I think, to make a move.
He looked better this game than he did when he came in an emergency type setup to try to give him a spark a little bit earlier in the year. Okay, now what?
On DJU, Dabo Swinney is loyal to a fault. I mean, that's one of the things we talk about. He's very much, he sticks to his plan, and when he hires coaches, most of the time it's promoting from within. If you're the guy, you're the guy. He's going to stick with you, through the rocky times because that's what he believes in. But look, this is not the first time that he's hesitated to make a quarterback move that was ultimately beneficial to him. He really slow played Deshaun Watson because I think because he is very old school. He's there and wrapping his head around playing a true freshman wasn't
what
there
about
for him
Aranda
yet.
With Charlie Brewer and Blake Shapen? Even though, some of them are just that loyal.
Yeah, so you have this tie. It's not an uncommon thing, but he's got a history of being slow to the trigger. And really, yeah, DJU didn't have a great season, but Clemson was 9-0 at one point. So you're not going to bench the quarterback when he's 9-0. And then they got walloped by Notre Dame. They lost that game to South Carolina. And clearly at that point, there was some inward looking, but they weren't ready to do that. He played poorly at the beginning of the ACC championship game. Cade Klubnik comes in, and now his story really begins at Clemson.
And in a down year, they still win more games than most, and they still
win
end up
11-2
ACC title. So I mean, so much for a down year. But I do understand with the bar where it is. But yeah, I mean, I think that was a move that was a long time coming, based on sort of how this season played out. And to see him enter the portal as quickly as he did, I think just further reinforced that. So, yeah, he'll definitely have some suitors, but it was time at Clemson.
All right, I want to read one super chat, but before we do, there's 2 or 3 more player personnel type decisions. Anthony Richardson leaving Florida for the NFL draft, skipping the bowl game. Smith and Jigba at Ohio State leaving for the NFL draft. Michael Penix, though, Jr., the quarterback at Washington, is coming back for another year after a spectacular year. A spectacular year for Washington, and the Huskies, of course, right now are 10-2 heading into their bowl game.
Well, Anthony Richardson's not a real surprise. I mean, there was a lot of scuttlebutt about that as the season, went on along, and man, he started off like a man on fire, like at the very beginning of the year. Remember, there was Heisman talking like week 2. It was crazy how he just sort of burst onto the scene. And then obviously things sort of evened out for Billy Napier's Gators, but Richardson's obviously immensely talented. The NFL likes what they see clearly, and he's gotten that message, and he's decided to go, dip his toes in the water. So I don't think that comes as a shock. Jackson Smith and Jigba, I mean, he's basically been sitting out all year to prepare for the NFL draft and avoid injury and whatnot. So that's really not a surprise.
He can't play. The doctors haven't cleared him to play the ball game anyway, too. So.
Yeah, you're right. It's an injury. But, I mean, he's been out all year and waiting to, go to the NFL draft. And I read somewhere some, thought of like, what if he could return for the playoff? And it's like, at this point, why would he even do that? Even if he was able to, why would he even risk that? So that's not a surprise whatsoever. And then who was the third one that you mentioned? Oh, yeah, Penix coming back. I mean, yeah, that's massive for Washington. He was great this year. Really turned their program into one of the more fun watches and one of the more improved teams in the country and more exciting teams out there in the West. And I'm looking forward to seeing him back because he did some great things for the Huskies and really is a fun player to watch.
Super chat, and this is part of the coaching carousel. We've tried to get to touch on a lot of them. There's like 500 players or probably more than that in the transfer portal, so we'll try to get to that. Now, before we get to Louisville and Cincinnati, and they play each other in 12 days and how awkward that's going to be, Deion Sanders to Colorado. I watched his press conference yesterday, his introduction. He's bringing that prime time, that swagger, a little arrogance, that's who he is, and also a little truth serum to a program that landed a guy that's going to give them unbelievable type of exposure. We'll have a writer on at 3:45 to discuss it. And he ends up at Colorado. I did not see that happening.
No, I just didn't think it was a fit for him just because of how bad they are. And look, it's going to be – I mean, he's going to get a ton of, big-time recruits, and he's going to, get guys in the portal. People are going to want to flood into Boulder to play for Colorado. Like, they'll be better talent-wise instantly, especially since he walked into the first-team meeting with the team last night and said, I'm bringing my own luggage, and it's Louis, basically saying, like, I don't need to know half of your names because you're not going to be here. Go ahead and hit the portal. But at least he's up front with them and very public about that. That staff's going to be interesting. Apparently, Willie Taggart's going to be on it. Maybe Tim Brewster as well. Other guys coming with him. He has made them relevant for the first time in a very long time in an overnight. So it'll be curious to see because, look, they don't technically have the money yet to pay him, but they know they're going to get it. They don't have the facilities at Colorado. Like, they are behind in a lot of things that he's still going to have to overcome by just saying, come and play for Deion. And ultimately, he's still going to be behind because at Jackson State, he can overcome it by just being Deion and being able to kind of flood Jackson State with kind of his income and some of those things. But now he has to compete with the other big boys. So while he will get better really quickly, how much better I think will be slowed by the fact that this is a different situation entirely.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a 3-run homer for Colorado. It'll be a grand slam if he actually goes and wins games, and I think that he will. How long that takes and to what degree, versus some of the bigger names in that conference, the Utahs and beyond that, I guess Oregon and Washington for the time being, and maybe for a while. And then we know USC and UCLA will be out in the next couple of years, so he won't have to see them for that long. But how he stands against those others, I think it'll be curious, how long that takes to get to that level. And with the transfer portal, it may not take as long as some people think. He obviously has a lot of connections. He's obviously a guy that a lot of people, player-wise look to and see as like the beacon of, their dreams. That's the guy they want to be in so many ways. The career they want to have in so many ways is what Deion Sanders was able to do, not only as a, professional athlete in 2 sports, but now as a coach as well. I mean, he's a guy that a lot of people look up to. A lot of people are inspired by, motivated by. I think you saw some of the reasons why in that meeting. It wasn't a good meeting for everybody in that room, but for some guys, I'm sure they're supercharged and ready to, get fired up and play for Deion, those that are still able to stick around. But he's going to bring Shedeur with him. He said, bring the quarterback with me, so Shedeur's coming. That's not a surprise. He mentioned like 10 other Jackson State guys. Travis Hunter's basically all but said, right, that he's going. He said that in a little live stream last night, that he's coming while he was watching the Deion press conference. So there's your big Jackson State 5-star that's probably coming with him amongst others. And I think it's fascinating. I did not think he would go to Colorado. I didn't really have in mind like what he was going to do. Like we knew at some point he was probably going to take a step up. But just, would it be Colorado? Like, would that be the spot? And I didn't think it would be, just for a variety of reasons from, I didn't think he'd love the cold weather. I didn't think that he'd love a pack that's pretty uncertain. I didn't think that, of all the potential options that he had, that maybe that was going to be his best one. But I don't know what other options he had. Maybe it was, and clearly it probably was, because they answered the bell and they got him and they landed him. So good for Colorado. They swung big. Good for Deion that he now gets to go up another level and prove his craft. And I think it's going to be really fascinating to watch.
Rick George, Deion Sanders said he met his match with Rick George, who was not going to let that thing off the hook. By the way, a couple of notes, and then we're going to get to some other college coaching. Behind us, there's a football. It's right behind me. Biscuits and Gravy brought it in. It's an autograph signed football with Dave Aranda's name on it. So thank you to Biscuits and Gravy for that. And, of course, there's a lot more to get to. Let's do this one. I text Chad Brendel earlier today, who covers Cincinnati football. I said, what has been the reaction to Scott Satterfield from Louisville going to Cincinnati? They play each other in 12 days in a bowl game. They're 90 miles apart. And he was like, not much of a reaction. Some of you on the chat room thought that it might not have been the best fit, that they could have gotten better. I wonder what happens to Reuben Owens, the superstar running back from El Campo, who's committed to Louisville. What does he do? Not sure. But they play at Fenway Park in 12 days, and that might be has to be a very awkward moment.
Yeah, but the fans in Louisville, they're not going to send him any thank you cards or going away presents on the way out. They were mad at him from the time he tried to get that South Carolina job, and I think they figured he also probably called about Auburn too when it was open and he was there. So it was clear he never really wanted to be there to me, and that right away he was kind of,
well, they didn't want him there either.
Well, I mean, after that, they didn't want him there.
So then he survives, and then he finally said, okay, you were going to fire me, so let me go find something else.
And look, it worked out for everybody. I just wonder, given his record at the P5 level so far, other than getting Reuben Owens, like Cincinnati is, in my opinion, until proven otherwise, taking a little bit of a step back. And not that Luke Fickell wasn't going to be a step back, or whoever that was, because Luke Fickell's an excellent coach, but I just maybe thought they'd swing a little bit deeper than Scott Satterfield.
I just don't know what they were going to swing with, towards. I mean, Brian Hartline, once he decided to take his name out, that would have been a splashy hire. That would have been a big name in college circles, certainly in the recruiting circles. And, if you're a wide receiver, your ears would have perked up whenever Cincinnati called with him at the helm. But, he decides to stay at Ohio State, and that totally makes sense with what they've got going on, what he's got going on right there. But, beyond that, of all the coaching searches of, all the schools, this one was kind of one of the weirder, quieter, uncertain ones. I don't feel like there was ever like major candidates outside of Heartline that were really widely discussed. I don't feel like there was any any juicy details that emerged. I don't know, is very lackluster, quite frankly. And when Satterfield was announced, it was fitting because that was a very lackluster announcement, quite frankly. If I was a Cincinnati fan, I'd be very in the middle on this and very much in wait-and-see mode. But, yeah, it does feel a bit disappointing, quite frankly, that you go from Luke Fickell to Scott Satterfield, a guy who's old school, clearly is like going to send you a thank you card for taking him off their hands, basically. Like, Louisville's like, thank you, Cincy. Appreciate that. High five. So, I don't know. It's weird. That was not what I expected to see as far as a hire goes for them. I didn't think they were going to go grab Urban Meyer or anything along those lines. But, without any real set expectations, I still managed to be surprised here and not in the best way. Hopefully he can make the best of that situation as they now gear up for Big 12 play. But, yeah, a little bit of a lackluster, impact, quite frankly.
Well, and Chad Brendel's text to me, meh. So we'll have him on at some point this week. We had him on just last week on the American Championship. We'll also get into what Liberty's doing. USF has their quarterback out of 10. Their coach also, UTSA, loses their offensive coordinator. And we'll have a guest today at 4:30, Gabe Brooks, on North Texas firing Seth Luttrell and what that means going forward. And he has some stats and analytics, even with a 44-44 record and a pretty good last couple of years of some of the down inside that. Phil Bennett, our good friend, is the interim coach, but that staff now is on the clock. When we come back, we'll look at more of your text messages. Oh, the super chat was this. The super chat question was, Cincinnati might be the next Big 12 doormat with the Satterfield hire. How do you hire a 500 Power 5 coach and expect to compete? Missing Fickell already. That's from GMAC in the Super Chat. We'll come back with you on that and also our reactions to that and more. This is 365 Sports. Ideal MRI in the Central Texas marketplace on the southern part of Waco off I-35 can help you in a couple of different ways. The first thing is that you would go and get an MRI because your doctor says they need to look at something that is bothering you that maybe they can't quite like pinpoint it. They kind of know. Might be a muscle, might be a ligament, might be something, but they just want more evidence of what it is, and you'll get that because Ideal MRI has an incredibly super deluxe, technologically stud MRI machine. I've been inside of that, I think at least 3 and maybe 4 times. And every time, it has been a very, very comfortable appointment. And I'm scared to death of MRI machines because I get claustrophobic, but never with them because the techs and specialists are so good. Number 2, $497 or less every single time. Not $497, then $1,150. $497 or less, which is more than, twice as less of what the average is of $1,100 per MRI. So, Ideal MRI with Dr. Rob Maxey and his incredible staff will find out what is hurting you, where it is, and get evidence and save you a ton of money. In some cases, not just hundreds, but maybe a couple of $1,000s at idealmri.com.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
We're fighting hard at Pickup Outfitters in our battle to end truck nudity. But it's not just about putting an outfit on a naked truck, it's about making sure you have the very best customer service. So we offer the Pickup Outfitters Lifetime Installation Guarantee. Over time, sometimes your outfit needs a little tune-up, maybe some tightening, adjusting, whatever. If you outfitted your truck at Pickup Outfitters, that tune-up is absolutely no charge for the remainder of the time you own that truck. We also offer free warranty assistance. If for any reason you need to use your warranty, you just bring it back to us and we take care of it. It just makes sense. I mean, operating without a promise like that would be like offering customer service in the nude. And if you've seen our staff, trust me, you don't want that. So do your part to end truck nudity by outfitting your truck, Jeep, SUV, or van at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco, where we promise to serve you fully clothed. Check out our website, createacommotion.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
We will, at what time, Paul, open the lines up? Just after 4 o'clock today, we are going to open our phone lines up. And that number is the same number as the text line, 254-339-1122. From R.P. Fitzwalter, excitement in Boulder is the highest it has been in 2 decades. I can't wait. Go Buffs. And R.P., thank you for the text. And we are going to get to the Cincinnati, Louisville, Satterfield super chat. Thank you for that in just 1 second.
Yeah, no, it should be. I mean, if I'm a Colorado fan, I'm pumped up. I mean, this is as exciting as it's been in probably a couple of decades, quite frankly. I mean, even with some of the runs that they made, winning some games here and there, nice season here and there, nothing like the energy and electricity that Deion Sanders is bringing with him, and just the resume and the star power that Deion has. I mean, it's unlike many people in college football. It's already on the level of your Sabans and your Dabos and your guys like that in terms of like name recognition. It exceeds those guys in some cases. Now, as a coach, he's obviously going to have to, take the success that he had at Jackson State and, apply it and have it translate over to, the Pac-12 and, D1 college football. But I don't have any serious doubts that he's going to, not going to be able to do that. I think he's going to put together a great staff. I think he's going to hammer the portal and pull a lot of guys in by being Deion Sanders and by preaching his vision and, speaking to guys on a level that maybe not other coaches speak to them on. And that's all going to work in his favor. I don't know. I'm fascinated by it. It's not, the move that I think many people saw coming for Deion or for Colorado. It just seemed like Deion and Colorado, yeah, okay. But here we are, and it's going to be be really cool to see how this goes.
You know who's as surprised as you are? Deion. He said that in his press conference. He's blown away by it.
Colorado just didn't make a lot of sense. Outside of the only thing I could think of was they have recruited Texas heavily in the past. I could see where he knows that. Not that would be a determining factor, but they do bring a lot of Texas kids up there. But mostly, I thought it was is this a 90s thing? Where when he was in his heyday, playing both football and basketball, Colorado was one of those programs that you're ooh, that's Colorado, right there with Nebraska and some of those other programs. They won a national title at the beginning of the 90s. They were viewed much differently than they're viewed in the 2020s. And so maybe in my head, at least, I thought he saw what Colorado has been and what they could be again, and maybe a little bit of a sleeping giant out west. And you see USC and UCLA leaving, and you're okay, I can see where we can make some things happen here if the NIL game's right and with the transfer portal. And so, again, I'm still surprised. But that's the best I could come up with, and why this was his eventual leap. And also, it could just be that this was the offer that he had. It was time to make a move, and this was the best offer that he had, the best opportunity that he had. I don't know who else came calling necessarily, but yeah, it's amazing for the Buffs.
Yeah, I always thought that Bieniemy would eventually go back there at some point. We know that never did happen. And so, Paul, it's Deion Sanders. USF gets Tennessee offensive coordinator Alex Golesh.
I think Paul had something on Deion.
No, go ahead. I have actually something on Golesh here as well.
Yeah.
So.
No, okay. And then it was one of the no, don't go ahead. You guys, the Deion thing blows my mind. And it's not because I never thought he could go to Colorado. I thought there would be something before that. I even thought maybe he would stay at Jackson State one more year. But really, what else can he accomplish there? He's given him and putting him back on the map, Walter Payton, names like that. I think Rick George, this has a chance to make him a legacy if this goes right.
Well, and look, I think the worry is that it goes too right too soon, and then somebody bigger than Colorado comes in and says, we need that here.
But that means he's successful,
exactly.
And it puts him back in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, so hopefully they can post Deion, if that does happen, rally that, and that's how kind of coaching goes. But no, Alex Golesh to Tennessee or to USF, I think is a great hire. I don't know if it's necessarily a good thing for Gary Bohannon.
The same thought.
I don't know if that's, we'll see. Maybe they adjust the offense. I do think he's going to get a transfer quarterback. Other interesting note about that, his defensive coordinator is going to be Todd Orlando at USF. So that should be very, very interesting. And Alex Golesh has a bigger mission than just, making sure USF wins. They're trying to get new facilities, a new stadium and all that built. And to get that kind of excitement, you've got to win. You've got to win well. You've got to, beat teams and look good. UCF going into a Power 5 conference has made them look really, really bad and behind the curve all of a sudden at USF in a way that I know a lot of their alumni are upset about. So he's got a tall task ahead of him.
They should be upset. They missed a golden window of opportunity by not doing better in the years prior. Not necessarily on the field, but just in terms of facilities and gearing up for a potential opportunity. They kind of just let that pass them by and sat on their hands and didn't get enough done, unlike UCF, who clearly, was out there and going, gung-ho on trying to make it into the Big 12. I think USF had the same desire, but they just weren't set up. They hadn't put the work in to set themselves up to, put themselves into that spot ultimately. And yeah, I think that they now look up and they realize, oh wow, there's a bigger gap than there was before. And now some of the people we were eye to eye with, or even looking down on, they're now looking down on us. I mean, that's a tough pill to swallow. So yeah, I think that there's a little bit of a fire that's been lit under USF, and we'll see where they take it. But I think that Golesh is a good hire. They'll obviously have a very exciting offense as the former Baylor offense that's spun into various, other trails that, now Heupel's got his own version of the beer and shoot, is probably the better way to call it at this point. But, that's something that's had success at, many different places and many different conferences. So I think that'll be fun. And I'm with you, Paul. I don't know how great that is for Gary Bohannon or not. To see a transfer quarterback brought in would not be surprising, especially in the portal market with how many quarterbacks are in there. We'll see with Gary. But he's going to have to be able to sling it around, and I don't know how Golish will view that. But I do think it's a good hire for USF.
So the Colorado, we'll talk with, in fact, just a minute, Brian Howe, who covers Colorado, about the Deion hire. At 4:30, we'll get into the North Texas, Seth Luttrell being fired, and what that means as they move forward, 44-44, but a lot of negative numbers as far as wins and or not wins against Power 5 and or other FBS schools. So we'll do that later today at 4:30. Open the lines up to you, read some more text, and also the chat room. We have the full throttle. Levi's the only one not here. We also have Jack, Garrett, Emery, and Jacob. And now back to the question about UCF. We kind of touched on it, but let's answer from GMAC. Might be the next,
Cincinnati.
The Cincinnati might be the next Big 12 doormat. His thoughts with Satterfield's hire. That would not have been the thought as they were coming in because they had the momentum in Luke Fickell. How do you hire a 500 P5 coach, Power 5 coach, and expect to compete? I miss Fickell already.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about how do you hire a P5 coach and expect to compete. I mean, they clearly expect to compete. Otherwise, they wouldn't make the move. I don't know how to answer that question exactly, but I also don't think that they'll be a doormat per se. I do think that there's obviously a lot to worry about, and, now with the portal opening up, you're going to be very leery of, what that roster looks like now with this announcement and how that's taken, but I understand the frustration. I don't know what the mindset was in going that direction, but we'll obviously hear that, and we'll hear what Satterfield has to say and take that all in and digest it and then go on from there. But I would like to at least hear, kind of the reasoning and some of the backstory to this before, making a final judgment. But if I was a Cincinnati fan, I would be a bit peeved. Yes, I would be a bit disappointed. I would feel, a little bit worried about, exactly what next year's big foray into the Big 12 is going to look like. But I don't think that necessarily, relegates them to being a doormat this quickly or even, moving forward.
Their history of hiring coaches has been really good. I mean, they've had a string of 6 of their last 7 that worked out very, very well. All right. Hey, by the way, at 4:45, Reagan Whitaker, she's a senior at Baylor. She won one of those halftime Dr. Pepper performances. She's going to join us at 4:45. We have Tim Brando at 5. David Hellman on the Cowboys, who are just blowing people out. He'll join us at 5:30. Paul's Top 5, too. When we come back, Brian Howe, he covers, you know who it is, the Colorado Buffaloes, and what all of a sudden falls in his lap. It happens to be Deion Sanders. That's next on 365 Sports. This holiday season, shop the great selection of new cars and trucks at Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat in Waco on Loop 340 just east of 84 and just actually west of I-35. I was over at the dealership on Friday getting my oil change in my car, just kind of checked. I got to get a couple of new tires in the front. That's fine. Colin was fantastic in the customer service department. Also, they have right now the Big Finish sales event, getting amazing deals. The 2022 Ram trucks, durable, functional, stylish. Ram trucks give you that first-class feel with luxurious leather, trim seating options, exceptional leg room, and storage if you don't exactly need or have enough room right now with what pickup truck you have or SUV. It's amazing the compartments that are hidden that can help you put anything. Really, not just depends on the size in certain parts of the body of the truck. Custom truck, if you want your dreams, and order it today. The Ram 2022 Ram trucks, Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Howdy, Chet Garner here, professional guide, searching for bears in the wild. But not just any bears, oh no, a particular kind. With hundreds of thousands roaming freely in the wild, yet still hard to spot unless you know the signs. There they are, Baylor bears. If you're a bear enthusiast or even a bear yourself, join me and let's find some bears in the wild.
Join the expedition at baylor.edu/alumni.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your home for holiday favorites for parties or time with the family with various specials available while supplies last in store or ordering by phone, including 8 to 10 pound half spiral hams at $4.15 a pound, 12-pound pit hams at $4.35 a pound, 8 to 22 pound bone-in hams for $3.40 a pound, 14 to 16 pound whole raw turkeys at $2.85 a pound, and $4.80 a pound for 9 to 12 pound whole smoked turkeys, 6 to 8 pound mini pit hams for $5.99 a pound. Limit 4 of each item per customer. Call in advance to ensure availability or drop by Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. Waco Custom Marketplace, your full-service butcher shop for customized orders or cuts of your favorite steaks or beef tenderloin or specially ordered prime rib roast. WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Want more updates during the day? Follow 365 Sports YT on Twitter.
We have had Brian Howe on this show before, and most recently during all of what was going on in July with USC, UCLA, and the Big Ten. Colorado Buffalo's beat writer for Buff Zone and also the Boulder Daily Camera joins us on 365 Sports. Brian, what's it like to all of a sudden have a media typhoon land right in your lap?
Well, it's been quite a 48 hours, I'll tell you that. I mean, it's been crazy. You know, it was. That press conference yesterday was unlike anything I've ever seen. You literally, I'm sitting there like, there's a bona fide celebrity that's here now coaching the University of Colorado, and it's a little bit surreal.
Brian, was there a point when Deion Sanders' name got floated for that job where you were like, no, even you who's covered it for a long time, like, that's fine and all, but, you know, let's get to the real candidates?
Yeah, pretty much the whole time. From the time he started being mentioned as a candidate, I mean, my I kind of laughed at people that got excited about it. I'm like, come on, he's not coming to Colorado. And a big reason for that was because I thought, at that point he's blowing up 60 Minutes, is doing stuff with him. He's on game day, all this stuff. And, and my thought was he's going to have Power 5 programs all over him. And there's no way he's picking Colorado over these other schools. And, I used to tell people the only way he's coming to Colorado is if this is his only Power 5 offer. And I think it turns out that it was. And I think that's why he ended up here. Surprisingly, I don't think CU had much competition. And so opportunity resulted in him coming here.
How would you describe just sort of the general reception from, readers and fans and media alike? What has been sort of the response here over the last day or so?
They're beside themselves. I mean, they can't believe what's happening right now. And, I haven't, it's been a while since I've covered the Broncos, but there was one of the Broncos reporters was at the press conference the other day, and I asked him, I said, how does this compare to when Russell Wilson was traded to the Broncos earlier this year? And it's pretty much the same. Maybe this is even more than that. And, Russell Wilson coming to the Broncos after their horrible quarterback play for years was huge. And it's the same thing here. CU has been so down football-wise for so many years that to have a guy come in and have this kind of bravado, and all of a sudden you put Colorado on the map, unlike any other candidate probably could have.
Brian, now the question is, he made it clear to everybody that was on that team, and they probably needed some truth serum, almost like a version of Scared Straight in an opening meeting with Deion. What do you expect? How much can they cultivate and compile talent in such a short amount of time?
I think they can do a lot. I mean, the portal is going crazy today, and I mean we're already seeing top recruits in the country that are, tweeting out they've got an offer from Colorado, and I think he's going to make a huge difference. And these players, they did need that. It's crazy because for the last 2 months after Carl Zarell was fired, everybody knew this team wasn't very good, but the whole message was, we're making football fun again. We just want to love up these players. And they got all that from the interim coaching staff. Then all of a sudden, Deion comes in and says, hey, hit the portal. Because I'm cleaning the house here. You guys are, if you don't want to be here, get out of here because I'm bringing people. And, give an example, Caden Proctor, who's committed to Iowa, one of the top 10 prospects in the country, 5-star lineman, tweeted out today he's got an offer from Colorado. And these are guys that Deion's going after. I think it's going to be massive turnover on the roster.
The staff, he's talked about Willie Taggart apparently going to be on that staff, maybe even Tim Brewster. Who do you know for sure that's coming with him?
Well, no, they haven't announced anybody yet, but, it's funny because in that video of the team meeting yesterday, and, Deion has cameras everywhere, so they post it all out there. He introduced 2 of his Jackson State assistants to the Buffs. So Andre Hart and Kevin Mathis are 2 assistants that have been at Jackson State with him. They were previously at Trinity Christian School in Cedar Hill with him, and they were both there yesterday in the team meeting, and Deion introduced them. So I do expect Tim Brewster to be there. He was obviously with Deion this year at Jackson State, but also interestingly, Tim Brewster was a college teammate of CU athletic director Rick George at Illinois, and also worked at the Broncos years ago. So I think that one probably happens. And then it looks like Willie Taggart, I just saw it as we were getting on the phone here, but it looks like Willie Taggart might be a part of it. So it's going to be an interesting staff as he puts it together.
No one has more connections than Tim Brewster in college football. I'm convinced, man. That guy's been everywhere, knows everybody. Yeah. One of the other things that Deion mentioned was the whole luggage piece, that he's bringing his luggage with him. He basically confirmed that Shedeur, his son's going to be, joining him, and mentioned 10 other Jackson State players. And I'm sure you saw the live stream reaction from former 5-star Travis Hunter, who said he's on his way as well. Just how much excitement is there over, some of those additions he might be bringing, and how much do you expect he'll be bringing over from Jackson State?
Yeah, I mean, same thing as before. I mean, this fan base is just, they're beside themselves with the possibilities here, and I'm not sure we fully understand the impact that he's going to have here. But last year CU was burned so bad in the portal; they lost 20-some guys, and a lot of it was trying to weed out some guys who weren't playing, but you had 5 or 6 players that really hurt when they left. And that's been the fear for the last 2 months, is that CU is going to lose, is to have this exodus of players again. I don't think people care now. It's like, fine, get them out there, because Deion's going to bring in a whole bunch of other guys. And so, I don't know how many from Jackson State, but it does look like maybe Hunter. His other son, Shiloh, is a starting safety for Jackson State. I imagine he comes as well. So, maybe 10, 12 players from Jackson State. I would imagine 25, 30 transfers overall come here.
How many questions did you field or see about when Deion starts talking about who's coming and was, oh, my God, is he already breaking an NCAA rule?
That was my initial thought when, during the press conference, he had Shedeur stand up and he said, that's your quarterback. I'm thinking, wait a minute. He is literally right now a Jackson State student and getting ready to play another game at Jackson State. And you just said he's coming here. But I imagine him being his father makes that not a violation. I don't know. But my initial thought was, did he just commit a violation there? Because I thought that was kind of interesting. But, they'll figure out a way around it, I'm sure.
What did you make of if there was any negative, I felt like, too, and it wasn't like super negative or anything, but if there's any sort of like, over this whole thing, it was Rick George's comments about the money and like, we'll find it or whatever. Like, we don't have the money yet, but we'll get it. How did you take that?
I didn't take it as like a desperation thing like a lot of fans did.
Yeah.
I thought, the way he said it, he was kind of joking. Like, it's true, but I don't remember which national writer, replied to my tweet that I had that. And he said, actually, this happens all the time where they'll get it from boosters and things like that. So, this national guy said it wasn't that big of a deal, but Rick said it kind of jokingly. This is the type of guy that you hire as a head coach, and that things are coming in, right? It's sort of like the first round pick in the NBA that goes out and buys the car before he has the money yet. Right. Well, the money's coming, right? They know stuff's coming in. And so, Colorado will be fine. And, they've got money. They'll get money. And so I think they'll be okay.
In addition to the NIL money, how about facilities and things that need to be upgraded there so that he, look, as great as Deion is, one of the reasons you leave Jackson State is because it's going to take a longer time to get the facilities and upgrade those things there that you need. What about facilities at Colorado and him getting what he wants on that end?
Well, the facilities are top notch here. They upgraded them. I think the facility opened in 2015, so it's still pretty new. They're top notch, and there's a video of him touring it on late Saturday night. He's blown away by what they have here, especially compared to Jackson State. So I've talked to so many people that have gone around the country to different places. They say Colorado's facilities are second to none. So I don't think facilities are an issue at all. There's some upgrades they need to make, like every school probably does. But as far as the training facilities, locker room, all that stuff, they're in pretty good shape.
Brian, you no longer have days off. You don't have days off. You've now become a beat writer to cover the Dallas Cowboys in a way as college football and the version of Deion Sanders in your backyard. Will you go watch them in their next playoff game?
Again, and the Celebration Bowl?
Yeah. Will you go the bowl game? Will you go cover that?
As of right now, there's no plans to, but things could change. It'd be kind of cool to go out and just see him coach one game and kind of get a feel for the atmosphere. If there was a way to be around the program, but as of right now, there's no plans to do that. And about 4 or 5 days after that is signing day, so we'll at least see him there. And it'll be interesting. You're right. No days off, and at least the one thing with Deion is his team puts social media out all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You probably don't even need access to them to be able to write stories because they're going to give you news every single day on their social media.
Good luck, Brian. Thank you very much. It's great for you because it will be every day. Thank you for your time, Brian Howe, with the Buff Zone, covers Colorado and the Deion Sanders story that he was introduced. I watched the entire press conference and I watched his meeting with the players in that football room. And we'll see how that goes. And we'll see how fast and how high they can climb up in a matter of very little time between now and the end of the month and National Signing Day.
Yeah, I guess, did he introduce Shedeur during the press conference?
Yeah.
Okay, because I watched him talk to the players. I didn't watch the full press conference, so I didn't see him. I mean, I knew that was a foregone conclusion.
He introduced his other son that does the social media.
Yeah, well, I saw, that was during the players' talk. I saw all of that. I didn't catch all of the press conference, so
yeah, he introduced him too.
But the Shedeur thing, that's not a surprise at all. And yeah, I'm just curious of who all, Hunter, Shedeur, Mr. Shiloh, who else may be joining him from Jackson State, because he did pull some D1 guys while he was there. You know, that's absolutely something he was fully capable of doing. So now he's on another level. And, man, it's going to be really interesting.
It is going to be incredibly interesting, and I mean it for Brian. It is now every day, although I enjoy the Deion things that I see on social media with some of the talk, some of the things about life, some of the complaints he might have, and they all seem to make sense. He is a showman. He's an entertainer, and he's now the head coach at Colorado following what he does in his bowl game with Jackson State. When we come back, we open the phone lines. Are we ready for that, Garrett? 254-339-1122. 254-339-1122. Call in, have something quick, and whatever it is, an opinion, college football playoff, coaching carousel, the transfer portal, whatever it is, you go, make it nice, and we'll react to it if we can't. Also, 254-339-1122. Let's stack up a handful of calls, and that's next on 365 Sports.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco. I've been talking about it for years now. It's a hidden gem. If you're a fan of craft beer, best selection in Waco. It's wintertime. Great stuff out there. Now, if you're a fan of local Texas bourbons, they've got the best variety of locally sourced Texas bourbons. Where you're talking about Balcones or Devil's River or Garrison Brothers, TX, they've got them all, and all the different varieties under each of those labels. They've got them there as well. Great varieties of everything at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Great customer service, a speedy drive-through window. Really, there's nothing I feel they can't accomplish because they just do a great job every time you go in there. Great promotions that they have. You can follow them on Instagram and find out what kind of promotions they have when they have a new brand in or a new flavor of something in or new type of something. They always have great promotions there. And, of course, you can get them on DoorDash as well. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, behind the bank. Check them out on Instagram. Get them on DoorDash.
TFNB, your bank for life, is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
Did you know Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco is open to the public? Next time you're in town for a Baylor athletic event or you're in town for tourism, take advantage of their day passes for $10 a piece or the weekend for $30. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers 40 group exercise classes, including indoor cycling and yoga, boot camp, and bar. New free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, new elliptical machines, and a spacious weight room floor. Personal training with Christy London, Randall Corley, and Alec Botch, where you will be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, kids club, 16 tennis courts, and 8 pickleball courts, and youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons available. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit wacotennis.com or visit them next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses. When it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why we take the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott in Conroe at 936-756-7717. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, locally owned pizza place that's out of this world. Everything from the dough, the sauce, the sausage topping is made fresh in-house. Not to mention the amazing pizza pillows, the chicken wings are to die for. Try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries or tots, plus great specials on food and drink every single day. Shorty's is also the perfect spot to watch the game with your friends. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Pressure again. It's picked up. Duggan, though, running out of time. He's got a lot of space. He can run again. Max Duggan, first down. Tight ropes the sideline. It is finally shoved out of bounds. Max Duggan on the ground has been the story of this drive.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
All right,
now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
I'm going to start giving $1 back every time Paul screws up the billboard.
No, I haven't screwed up the billboard.
All right.
It's been literally the same. Every single day we've ever done the show.
Every single return has our names on it.
Every single return at the top
wasting time
of
that
the
could be with our
hours
callers.
they haven't called yet. Every single one since April 6, 2020 at 4 o'clock has had our name on it.
Okay. All right. And the next time that you ask me for a phone number on a guest that you didn't ask me earlier in the show, that's 10. Okay? All right. No, I do. I forget. I'm old. I'm sorry. Okay, now, 254-339-1122. Your chance right now on the line. We'd love to hear from you. 254-339-1122. Your feedback on the college football playoffs, conference championship games. We're about to get to that. The transfer portal, the coaching carousel, or maybe your favorite recipe. I don't know. All right, as we go, until we get to you, until you call in, 254-339-1122, 365 Sports. Our feedback, we would take your calls in and out of this. Conference championship games will start with what was another classic down to the 1-inch line. Last year it was down to the 1-inch line with Baylor and Oklahoma State. This year, Kansas State and TCU and K-State and Utah right now probably as hot as anybody as they end the regular season.
Yeah, that was really impressive by K-State to do that. Really bad luck for TCU to have Max Duggan shorted there. Now the referees did not spot the ball where the ball was, which I know TCU fans may never get over, but I also think that running into the teeth of the defense, handing off 2 plays in a row was not really the right call, but Sonny Dykes did say in the postgame that fatigue and the facts that Max Duggan had left literally every bit of his soul out there in the field played into that.
I still somehow have the ball in his hands on one of those 2 downs, but that's easy to second guess.
Yeah, but it was just such a fantastic.
How do you replay that play at the goal line and not make that at least another ball closer to the goal line? How do you spend all that technology and not move that a little bit closer?
I don't know.
Craig,
it'll bother me forever.
Your thoughts on TCU?
Paul,
and
are you done with your
State?
thoughts?
No, yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
Done,
Yeah. I thought it was a great game. I thought it was. I thought Kendry. Did y'all think Kendry Miller scored?
Well, I don't know. I can't hear the whistle.
Okay.
I think he extended the ball, but I don't know when they said his forward progress, and we surely can't tell on television. Did he get it across? Probably. But I don't know when the whistle blew or when they said his forward progress was done.
Yeah, I definitely think it looked like he crossed. I just don't know when the whistle blew, but I definitely thought he might have scored there. But the officials said otherwise, and it is what it is as far as that goes. Don't leave it in the hands of the officials. And unfortunately for TCU, that was just a situation where they didn't get the bounce, the break, the one play that put them over the top like they have other times this year throughout the 12-0 regular season run. Really tough to look back on this season, I would imagine, in future years, and look at having beat everybody in the conference and ran the whole gamut, and then to not have a Big 12 title. I mean, I understand the playoff might be more of a trophy when all is said and done. Certainly exposure-wise, they'll get a lot more attention based on being in the playoff and all of the hullabaloo about, playing Michigan and all of the commercials and things that come with that, being able to say they made the playoff. But damn, man, they didn't win the Big 12. Like, think about that for a second. They ran the table and didn't win the Big 12. They don't have a trophy for 2022 in their case. That's just wild to me. So yeah, very unfortunate that they got they didn't get that accomplished. But I mean, they can go get something far grander accomplished by beating Michigan in the semis and potentially getting into that national title game, or would get in there by doing so. Easier said than done, but still a great opportunity in front of them. Heartbreaker of a loss though. Max Duggan was great. I think that for some folks who maybe didn't consider him very much for the Heisman Trophy, probably if they watched that game are reconsidering that a bit, just the way that he left it out there, like you said. And I just, what a classic, another classic for the Big 12 at AT&T Stadium in their championship game. It's 2 years in a row now where they've had, down to the wire goal line stands to determine a champion. And that's great drama, and I think it shows just how competitive and how even the league is. But, yeah, massive disappointment for TCU. Not surprised K-State won the rematch. It's hard to beat teams twice, and as the saying goes. But, man, even still, it took every single inch and ounce and everything that you could imagine to beat TCU. And so I think that they deserve to still be in the playoff, and they got in. And so it works out well for everybody outside of, not getting that trophy to put in the case. And for K-State, incredible year. In an expanded playoff, they'd be in. But they're Big 12 champs. They're going to be able to tout that and flaunt that on the recruiting trail. And that's going to be some nice new hardware at their facilities. And Chris Klein has done a great job there bringing them back to prominence. So really good showing by both teams, and just unfortunate for TCU. They couldn't just get that one more inch.
How come in basketball you can win a Big 12 regular season title, and yet in football, they don't give one of those? Now, I would rather be in the college football playoff than win a Big 12 title. It kind of seems like that's backwards. But at the same time, they don't do a regular season title.
No. Look,
but they do in basketball.
Yeah, but we had the group text this weekend about how these things are going to shake out, and like there were some really good games and things like that. But there's a chance now, like with Ohio State and Michigan are always going to play the last weekend of November. That's never going to change because that was decreed by, the college football gods, back in the days of the leather helmets. So that's never going to change. So there's going to be years, and yeah, USC and that coming in changes that, but there's going to be years where Ohio State and Michigan will play each other in back-to-back weeks. Both of those games may be meaning nothing when it comes down to the college football playoff. So really, other than bragging rights, which they'll want to have, obviously, but that's going to kind of make those things kind of weird. And Craig said, like, look, the championship games become less relevant now in a lot of cases.
Not if you're going to get an automatic bid as highest one.
Yeah, but or those games like before, it's going to negate one of them, right? So if you're playing a rematch, and especially if it's back-to-back weeks, those things kind of get interesting. But I don't think it's probably going to happen as much as I was afraid of it happening. But even still, yeah, it'd be nice to have a regular season title, but ultimately it only lasts for a week, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. But it is something to celebrate. And if you're TCU, you're still probably a little bit numb to losing that game, but you're thrilled because you have a chance to go deeper and higher because you're in the college football playoff.
Yeah, let me ask this question, and I think I know the answer is TCU, but would you rather go 12-0 in the regular season, lose in the Big 12 championship game, and then make the playoff but lose to Michigan, no matter what fashion it is? Or would you rather go whatever you go in the regular season, win the Big 12, and then win a game like the Sugar Bowl? I think you obviously want to be in the playoff, right?
I want to be in the playoff.
Yeah, you want to be in the playoff. So, I mean, there is that part of it that if you're TCU, you're like, yeah, that sucked, but hey, it's still been a great year, and yeah, we didn't win the Big 12, but everybody watching knows we kind of won the Big 12 because we beat everybody in the league in 9 straight weeks or 9 out of 10 weeks that we played. So there won't be an asterisk, but there will always be, for those who remember this season, that asterisk in our own heads of like, yeah, TCU didn't win it, but they beat everybody the first time around. So yeah, I mean, they have a golden opportunity in front of them with Michigan. I think a lot of people are already writing off TCU. I don't know how smart that really is because it's a feisty team with a lot of talent. But yeah, they got to get Max Duggan some oxygen. Clearly, I think that was the first priority after that game, and just regroup a little bit, and we'll see how they come off of a loss, because we haven't seen them have to do that at all this year. And Michigan will be a monumental challenge for them, but I don't think it negates their season in any way, losing in dramatic fashion like that. And for K-State, again, just props to them. I don't want them to get lost in the loss of TCU's unbeaten record. K-State, played them tough the first time around, had all those quarterback issues, and that's why a lot of people felt like, hey, it's not only hard to beat a team twice, but it's especially hard when that first time we didn't even get the full meal deal from K-State. Yeah. So that wasn't a surprising outcome, but I was glad it was a great game. I thought that, all the pageantry and stuff, I didn't get to take it in person like many people did, from, Shanti singing the national anthem and some of the things that Your Mark had incorporated. But I think, the game itself was terrific. I think the atmosphere came across great as well. Definitely brought some energy. The folks who were actually in attendance can, comment more on that. But I think he did a good job of making it more of like a spectacle and a show and an event. And I think the game, paid off their end of the bargain. And it was a really good Saturday for Brett Yormark in the Big 12.
It was, and it was a great Saturday for K-State. It ended up being a great Sunday for TCU. And you wonder, because of the scar that TCU and Baylor suffered in 2014, if you're a TCU fan, even though you probably felt good, you went to bed that night, got up that next morning, and you just never knew if your logo would show up, which it deservedly and earned should have been there, but you just never knew. Seth DeRusso, why is basketball even brought into this discussion in the first place? Because it's an absolute analogy. My question is, why in basketball do you celebrate and get a trophy for winning the regular season title, but in football, in this conference or others, you don't? Now, does a regular season title mean anything if you lose in the Big 12 championship game? Sure it does. It didn't mean anything to Baylor when they finally won the regular season title that year when they went to West Virginia and won like in double overtime. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
So, but
basketball
in
is
priority,
just different, right?
Semifinals, college football playoff, Big 12 championship game, or whatever conference, and then after that, if you did great in the regular season, that probably gets you into the college football playoff discussion.
Yeah, so I don't think it was really that complicated of a comment. It's just saying they award regular season and tournament trophies, so I mean, it's not really that big a deal.
From Devil Frog, why did TCU's haters always downplay their victory over Kansas State by glossing over the fact that TCU knocked out their star players out with physical play? Here's what I do know, Devil, and anyone else. I do know that if it's a team you like and you hear anything that's a little bit not quite exactly how you want to hear it, you get sensitive. And that's fine. You're a fan of the team. I think we gave TCU a hell of a lot of credit, and I don't know about anyone else. We can't speak for other people. After they came back from 28-10 against Kansas State and knocking players out of the game, that's part of the game. Just like in TCU had Quentin Johnston go out.
Just like Utah hurt Caleb Williams.
Yes, absolutely.
On Friday night. And made a difference in that game. Tremendous difference.
Let's see. In basketball, the regular season championships don't mean as much for the smaller conferences. It's a nice accomplishment, but the championship game is what gets you into the NCAA. Jason, that's a really great question. A great comment. All right. Iowa State was the best last-place team in any conference.
Probably.
Sure, blah, blah, blah. I never really looked at the others that were in last place.
Oh, that offense was pretty bad, man. Yeah. But, yeah, like they were, as far as being competitive with the top end of the conference, I don't know the rest of the country's layout, but I would have to imagine that Iowa State was probably, if not the most competitive team versus all of their, conference opponents being, at the bottom of the stack.
Would they have beaten Northwestern? Sure. Would they have beaten Colorado? Absolutely. I'm trying to think of
like 7-3, but they still would have beaten them.
Vanderbilt. That'd been interesting. Vanderbilt was 5-7. Georgia Tech probably the worst team in the ACC this year.
By the way, Kerry Coombs, according to Linwood Marshall in his press conference, Satterfield is keeping Kerry Coombs at Cincinnati.
Good.
Who's the interim coach. That's a good move. That's a great move.
Let's see what recruit. I know Cincinnati fans are down in the dumps, so let's see what recruits he brings over. He had a really good class bubbling up at Louisville, and give it time and be patient with it. But yeah, in terms of a splashy, sexy hire, that was not it for Cincinnati. No.
Let's see. Stephen dumped all over Big 12 TCU strength of schedule today. Again, what anyone else is saying on another network, another show about anything Big 12, if they know college football, then I'll listen to them. If they don't, to me, it's just talking to talk, which we see a lot of, and sometimes maybe even think that with us.
All due respect to Stephen A., but I do not care one iota of what he thinks about college football. That is not his wheelhouse, not even close, and, everybody can take that as they will, but I'm not blinking at his college football opinions.
Well, we just mentioned him. We had somebody in the chat room mention him, and we responded to him, and that's exactly what they actually want. Let's see here. From Stephen Moser. Remember when Missouri won the meaningless conference tournament on their way out and then lost to Norfolk State in the first round while Baylor went to the Elite Eight and Kansas went to the Final Four the same year that Missouri won the Big 12 tournament in basketball? I remember that year. I don't remember all those details. In college basketball, it's a little bit different. But again, they do celebrate a regular season title. What's wrong with giving Oklahoma, or last year, who would it have been, Oklahoma State, or whoever would have been, a Big 12 championship trophy for the regular season? Again, is it like everybody wins a ribbon? No. Does it really help you with recruiting? You could probably mention it. But winning the conference championship, like Georgia, they won the SEC conference championship. What was better for them, that or winning the regular season going unbeaten? They were still probably going to be they've been number 2 seed had they lost it.
I think beating LSU and winning it outright and being undefeated is better than being undefeated in the regular season.
Sure, because it also clinched the number 1 seed. You would have been number 2 had you not done that. Michigan would have been the number 1 overall seed. All right, here we go. There was out of the 14 teams that are about to be a part of the Big 12, somebody sent this to me, and I can't remember who it was. 12 of them made a bowl game. Brigham Young, Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston. 12 of the 14 who will be a part of the Big 12 next year and for 2 years all earned a right to get into a bowl game. Some was 6-6, but they got in. All right, when we come back, we'll hear from Gabe Brooks. He works for 247, very much involved in national recruiting, signing day later in the month, but also he's a UNT alum, and his thoughts about Seth Luttrell, no longer the head coach at North Texas. This is 365 Sports. Waco Custom Marketplace has not everything I'm going to mention because there's a lot to get to, but they have specials on 8 to 10 pound half spiral hams, pit hams, bone-in hams, raw turkeys, whole raw turkeys, smoked turkeys, and also mini pit hams. All these have specials from anywhere $2.85 a pound up to $5.99 a pound. Just ask when you get there. Also, you can limit up to 4 of each item per customer. I think that's plenty for you to take home for whatever you're going to cook for the holidays, whether it's a Christmas party, whether it's a reunion with family, whether it's Christmas, New Year's, whatever it is in between. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for the holidays, your favorites for parties. Also, again, anytime the family comes over in the next few weeks as well. Call in advance, ensure availability. I was in their store, I guess it was at the end of last week, walked in, they've got these 3 tubs. One is brisket, and one is turkeys, and one has hams. So they have it there. Full-fledged butcher shop. I had a bone-in ribeye last night. It was absolutely delicious. And then also the bakery with fresh baked kolaches and bread every single morning. Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
The Big Finish sales event is happening now at Allen Samuels in Waco, and we're celebrating this holiday season with an incredible lineup of all new 2022 Jeep models like the Grand Cherokee L, Renegade, Gladiator, Wrangler, and the Wrangler 4xe. Jeep SUVs are known for their design and technology. The Grand Cherokee L even brings you extended seating with a third row. Hurry in, find the Jeep that fits your family. If we don't have exactly what you want, we can order it today. Wrap up some of the best deals of the year and drive home today at Allen Samuels in Waco.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
1, 2. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's Tasty Oak Smoked Barbecue.
Next in line.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Hi, this is Paul Catalina. I recently got engaged to the love of my life, but the most important thing that I had to do before I popped the question was get that perfect ring. And I know nothing about rings. So I went to the wedding ring store, Boozer's Jewelers on Valley Mills Drive. I knew I needed a custom design, and that's exactly what they do. 9 out of 10 of their engagement rings are designed in-house. The entire process took less than a month, and they were great every step of the way. Great options on financing, excellent selection, and talented designers. My fiance and I get nonstop compliments on the ring. I only deserve credit for doing the smartest thing I could, walking into Boozer's and letting them work their magic. Your one-of-a-kind fiance deserves a one-of-a-kind ring, and that's what you get at Boozer's. Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store on Valley Mills Drive.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
We have discussed most of all the coaching carousel, the coaching jobs that have been filled, and those that now are open. And then also one we said we would talk more about at 4:30. We are with North Texas and Seth Luttrell parting ways. Phil Bennett, interim defensive coordinator, interim head coach for their bowl game coming up. And Gabe Brooks, a UNT alum, works for 247 Sports, of course, with recruiting. And we've known Gabe for quite some time. Gabe, there was a little bit of, wait a minute, 44-44, had a pretty good year the last couple of years, had to pull themselves out of a ditch a few times. But then you got deep into a lot of analytics of what UNT has been through and your thoughts about him getting fired yesterday.
Yeah, I think from from a outsider perspective, as far as just seeing the record at the end of the year, you see 6-6, lose a bowl game last year, 7-5, lose conference championship this year. I can understand some folks who don't follow it week to week, kind of being perplexed by it. But, I think the big things are the non-conference losses, especially against fellow group of 5 opponents. North Texas has not beaten an FBS non-conference opponent since September of 2018. That's 13 losses in a row in that category. They've lost 11 consecutive group of 5 non-con games. That includes, getting drubbed by SMU a couple times. That includes 58-27 loss at UNLV this year. UNLV fired its coach at the end of the season. There's a lot of outside the league, pretty heavy losses. Like you said, 44-44. I believe 22 of those 44 losses were by 20 points or more. So, UAB in conference, this is a program that was ended a few years ago. And I believe 0-4 against UAB, 4 consecutive losses. There's just some. I really think that last year, they upset UTSA at home in a cold, rainy, wet environment. I think it's pretty clear based on what the statement that was released last night that if that had not happened, that the move would have happened last year.
Gabe, what do you see for the future of candidates? Who are they looking at? What kind of scheme? As they also have to have someone who helps move them into a new conference with some excitement.
Yeah, so, I think there's a lot of stuff going around right now, like a lot of names being thrown out. As far as stuff, perspective on the inside, I hadn't heard a lot yet. I put a name out there just as a name that I, as an alum who follows the recruiting and scouting and college game pretty closely, I think Emmett Jones would be an excellent fit. One thing I've heard for quite a while now, several years, from a lot of my high school contacts, is not the most glowing endorsement of North Texas's reputation with the high schools. I've had schools in very high traffic recruiting areas, along I-20 on the south side of Dallas, areas like that, tell me that you could probably count on one hand the number of times that the Luttrell staff has been there visiting. So that just shouldn't happen. And a guy like Emmett Jones, obviously that would change instantly. I think a lot of people like the Garrett Riley name. I think Eric Morris would make a lot of sense. I think with the success Jeff Traylor has had, with Joey McGuire has shown in just 1 year at Texas Tech, I think something that North Texas has missed for a long time across multiple regimes is a direct connection to the Texas high school football brand. And why, if you're in DFW, which arguably is the number 1 metro area for recruiting in the country, maybe it's number 2 to Miami-Dade, but why would you not lean heavy into that if you're in North Texas?
Gabe, how long do you think this decision was kind of in the works?
Well, it sounded like, it sounded like it almost happened last year. Then they were 1-6 and they reeled off the winning streak to get bowl eligible. I think that after they laid an egg in a bowl game against a team that with a far inferior roster, that had gone, I think it was their first
FBS non-con win in a long time, Miami of Ohio. I think that they probably should have just gone ahead and done it because, you let the guy go 7-5, and it's a decent year. It's a good year. You play in the conference championship game. I think that really is why it kind of has a bad look on the outside. So I think it's been in the works for quite a while. One thing that is certain is that North Texas, and one guy who deserves a lot of credit is Luke Valerius, the chief of staff who spearheads their personnel. North Texas has had year over year for about 5 years as good top to bottom personnel as they've ever had. And he deserves a ton of credit for that. He's going to be good wherever he winds up. But I talk to coaches. I've heard behind the scenes coaches in the other, programs in that conference that they would trade rosters with North Texas in a heartbeat. And, you can go 6-6 and kind of underachieve with that kind of roster and all the investments that the school has made, and the highest paid coach in the conference until Traylor got the deal a year ago, the extension. And I think that once you dig into it, that it's kind of makes a lot more sense as to why they would make this move at this point.
Gabe, one name that was thrown out also as a part of the just speculation was Graham Harrell, now at West Virginia. But since he was under Seth Littrell, under his staff originally, do you think that works against him?
I think that there's probably two camps torn on that. I think there's some people who probably like the idea because there's a lot of familiarity, and that was the Mason Fine days. That was that 2018 team went 9-3 and lost in the bowl game to go 9-4. They had Mason Fine. They had 3 receivers who are in or have been in the NFL: Jalen Guyton, Jalen Darden, Rico Bussey. Had a couple defensive guys playing the NFL, but on the flip side, they lost 3 games that they led by double digits after kind of going into a shell offensively and playing conservative. That includes a 28-0 lead at Old Dominion that they blew and lost 34-31. So there's some of that left a bad taste in some folks' mouth. But as far as a young guy who's offensive oriented, I think that's the only way to go nowadays for a group of 5, and obviously has the Texas high school connections. So I can kind of see both sides of that one.
Gabe, how much does this have to do with the conference move too?
I think it has to have quite a bit to do with it. And, this is just me, my own speculation. I think the success of the men's basketball program under Grant McCaslin might have, that might indirectly put some pressure on football because, North Texas was close to consecutive big dance berths. In the previous year, they upset Purdue in the first round. Last year, I think they were 25-4 and got to the second round of the NIT and went to overtime against Virginia, which is, where they number 1 right now? So number 2, somewhere up there. So, Grant McCaslin, I think what they've done in basketball has kind of indirectly put some pressure on football, especially because of the conference move.
And maybe what Traylor's done at UTSA. There was one name, somebody just texted me, and I know, Gabe, we got to go, and you do as well. What about Justin Fuente?
I've heard that name a lot, and I think that was tied with Ren Baker, the outgoing AD. That was the buzz I had always heard there. I don't know if there's remains some connection still, maybe some of the interim athletic staff. There may be some connection, but I don't want to use the word retread because that's not really fair to him. But the somebody like Emmett Jones or Garrett Riley or Eric Morris, some newer blood, I think would be. I think your goal as a G5 is to just hire good up-and-comer after good up-and-comer. And I think that going that direction would be the way to go.
Gabe, great to hear from you. Thanks for your time. Good luck over the next few weeks as you grind towards National Signing Day with what you do with 247. Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.
Gabe Brooks, again, 247 Sports, a UNT alum. And then our UNT, the damn ball, run the damn ball on a direct message to me mentions that Justin Fuente's name, and Gabe said he had heard that name too. But I do think that, yes, that up-and-coming guy would make sense for them. Phil Bennett, interim coach for their upcoming bowl game. When we come back, Reagan Whitaker, senior at Baylor, won the Dr. Pepper halftime show at the SEC championship game. She will join us live. This is 365 Sports. PettyClinicLowT.com can help you become the high-performance man you want to be, need to be, and perhaps used to be. Father Time takes over your body no matter what. Sometimes for some it's maybe worse than others. 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone, and one of those issues could be your energy or your focus, or kind of a combination of that. Could be your sleep habits. Just you don't feel right. And that could also be something other than low testosterone, and also sex drive also can be affected by low testosterone. So Dr. Kent Petty can help you out. Go to PettyClinicLowT.com. Top left-hand corner, there's an email phone number. Tell them I sent you. Contact them and tell them your story. 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. Dr. Petty and his staff will set you up with an appointment for you to get your blood taken. Your blood drawn. They'll get the results, and if your testosterone levels are too low, they will contact you one way or the other, and if they're too low, give you the option to be a part of a program to increase your testosterone levels so you can become the high-performance man you want to be, need to be, and used to be at PettyClinicLowT.com.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgan Ford. It's that time of year. It's football season. And BK Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football teams in Texas, right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, led by our leading rusher, the F-150, 45 years in a row. Lock in your best price and rate today by custom ordering your new F-150 at BK Ford. Simple, easy, trusted. Experience better at Bird Colgan Ford.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Chuck Verno, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Chuck Verno, 720 North 64th Street in Waco, 254-732-1161. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to PettyClinicLowT.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to the water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
You know, these conference championship games, Dr. Pepper, very visible. They have halftime competition where 2 different students try to throw a football into a big, large, inflatable thing to try to get as many balls inside the circle as possible and win $100,000. We're now joined by Reagan Whitaker, a senior at Baylor, who was at the SEC championship in the competition. My goodness, what a day it was across the board. Reagan joins Paul Craig, and I'm David Smoak. Reagan, good afternoon. What has your life been like the last couple of days?
Oh my gosh. Hi guys. So life has been crazy. I feel like within the 30-second toss, my life just did a quick 360 and it's just been so surreal to experience all of it.
Do you have any other athletic achievements that equal the toss?
I mean, I've played lacrosse for about 11 years, but it was nothing compared to what happened on Saturday.
So, Reagan, take us through kind of the challenge and how all that works, like the setup of it, kind of what you're told, and obviously the feeling walking out in front of a crowd like that. Just take us through the process, if you will.
All right. Yeah. So this year, the Dr. Pepper tuition giveaway had us submit videos via TikTok. So I made a 1-minute long video and I did the hashtag Dr. Pepper tuition contest. And I was just so lucky that they selected me as a finalist, and I got practicing right away. The day they called me, I literally bought a hula hoop on Amazon for like $3 and like bought so many footballs just to start practicing because I wanted to make it on the field. We did a prelim competition the day before, which is where we also settled the tiebreaker competition. And the second I knew I was going to be out on the field, I think I just was so nervous. And then when I was actually there and saw 75,000 people, and then I hear the producer say, all right, we're at 14 million viewers on TV, my stomach just like sank. And I was like, I'm really about to go out there and do this thing.
And you did. And then it went overtime. And then, of course, that was dramatic. What was the exhilaration or adrenaline rush like? And how do you just not, like you said, panic? Or I guess as an athlete, you're kind of used to that, even with the crazy numbers in front of you. What was it like? And did you know you were always like real close with your competitor?
Yeah, so it was crazy. I remember the 30 seconds. First of all, that was the slowest 30 seconds of my life. And then when they blew the whistle and I saw that we both tied at 11, I just was in utter shock. I remember the first person I looked at was Kayla, my other, the other finalist, and we just like were unbelievable shocked and knew we had to get ready for the next round. And then when we tied again, I knew what that meant because I was fortunate enough to win the tiebreaker the day before by getting the most points. And I knew that had meant that I won $100,000. But throughout the whole thing, I just remember the shock I felt, and I had to get myself together real quick because we were going into another round before I knew it. So, yeah, it was pretty wild.
Reagan Whitaker, senior at Baylor, won the SEC Dr. Pepper Challenge, and she joins us right now on 365 Sports. So when was the preliminary, and what did you really kind of expect from when you won that? What was it the same type toss, or was it something different?
Yeah, so the preliminary round was the day before. Dr. Pepper is actually so generous. They send 3 contestants to each game. And in the preliminary round, we all battle it out doing the same exact toss, and the top 2 go on to be at the halftime show. And then it was funny. Kayla and I actually tied in the preliminary round. So we tied, and then we went on to do it again, and that's when I got the most points, and then our rank was first, second, and third. They just briefly told us, if you guys tie twice at the game, that means Reagan wins because she won the prelim round the day before. And I remember joking with the Dr. Pepper team saying, like, oh my gosh, what if we tie? And they laughed it off because it had never happened before. So definitely shocking across the board when things actually happened. And yeah, so going into the game, I knew that the prelim was in the back of my mind. I didn't think I'd actually have to use it, but I'm so thankful that I did good the day before because it led to me getting a nice check.
$100,000. You want to be you want to be an audiologist, is that correct?
Yeah. So my older brother was born with hearing loss, and he's always just interacted with audiologists, and I've had a close relationship with audiologists in my life, and I see the impact they have on others, and I just really wanted to pursue that. But in order to do that, I have to go to school for another 4 years, which is just a huge financial challenge. And so Dr. Pepper's generosity through this competition has made that possible, and I'm just so excited for what the future holds.
Do you know that you're the 3rd Baylor student, I think, in the last 6 years to win one of these challenges with Dr. Pepper?
Yes, I did. I was fortunate enough to meet the other 2. I think one's name is Bryce and Andrea, and they're just awesome.
So you and Kayla have a special bond now. I mean, it's cool. Both of y'all, obviously, not everybody watching got to see the event prior, the tiebreaker the day before, and eventually it all gets sorted out. You both walk away with $100,000. Like, how did that feel? And did you guys have kind of a special Dr. Pepper challenge bond now?
Oh my gosh, we have a bond for life. Throughout the whole weekend, we actually got to Atlanta Thursday night and had a dinner together as competitors. And we just really became friends more than anything. So when they came up into the suites around, I think it was the 3rd quarter of the game, and they announced that she got $100,000 and handed her a huge check as well. Like, I remember she fell to the floor, and I just went up and picked her up and gave her the biggest hug. We were both so excited and just crying because we can't believe that our lives literally just changed like that. And we were just each other's biggest cheerleaders this weekend. You know, you're out there on a huge stage that you're not really used to, and it's just you guys. So supporting each other each step of the way. Yeah, it was crazy. We were so just excited about the outcome, and yeah.
Reagan, I got to tell you, when you answered Craig's question and you mentioned the moment in the suite when they also approached her with the other big check, that gave me goosebumps. Did that like blow you away, that moment for you too?
Yes, I was so excited. You guys, this is not just a football competition. Like, Dr. Pepper is really out there changing people's lives. Kayla was an occupational therapy student, and she told me how much debt she had, and I knew what it meant to her in the moment. And I knew what it meant to me as well, so I could only just relate to what she felt. And that we were just both overcome with emotions because, you know, our lives changed, and we're able to go out there and do what we want to do with our futures just because Dr. Pepper is such a generous company, and because we went out there and tossed a few footballs. Like, who knew?
Reagan, you mentioned you met the others at Baylor who had won.
Yeah.
How many times, just like in the last 4 to 5 years, randomly did you football fan, did you catch any of the Dr. Pepper halftime challenge? Did you ever even like catch that before?
Yeah. So I like to watch football. I think it's just on leisurely at my household most of the time. And I've seen it over the years, but one thing that really caught my eye was last year when Baylor's at the Big 12 championship game. I just thought to myself, I was like, I could do that. And started out as a joke, and I was joking with my friends about applying for it. And then it was my academic advisor who said her roommate had won it. And then I was out there practicing after I got the call, and Bryce was literally just on a leisurely walk. And he said, oh my gosh, I won that back in 2018. And so it was such a small world and just absolutely crazy that so many Baylor students have gotten the chance to do it.
Well, now you're a rock star on campus, right?
It's been wild. I went to class earlier today, and just seeing people that I don't even know just congratulate me and support me the entire way. It shows me how much of the Baylor family has an impact on others. So it's been wild.
My last question then is, you said you were at the Big 12 championship. Baylor beat Oklahoma State in that dramatic game this year. Didn't go quite so well. When is Baylor getting back to another Big 12 championship game?
Oh, I believe it's going to happen next year. I think we're going to bounce back fast and do what we do best, which is win.
Reagan, congratulations. Love what you're doing with audiologists and your career, and what a moment it was with what Dr. Pepper did, what you did, and also what they eventually did for Kayla. Congratulations. Enjoy it, and thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a good one.
That's, again, Reagan Whitaker. $100,000 towards her tuition at Baylor University to be an audiologist. Thanks to Sarah Pryor, by the way, and the agency that set that up for us. What an incredible moment. How nervous it would be, and then to win it after the tiebreaker from earlier the day before, and then going to double overtime. When we come back, he always has opinions on college football. Tim Brando, his thoughts about the college football playoffs, the championship games. He was a part of Boise State, Fresno State, and the Heisman Trophy, and more. That's next, 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, they are the people that you can count on, not only for a great deal on a vehicle, but also for great customer service as well. And right now they've got some new models on the lot. Been a little while, long wait to have really any dealership in the country with a bunch of new vehicles on the lot, supply chain issues, microchip issues, all of that jazz. But now there are new trucks, SUVs, and cars all over the lot at Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, and they've got gifts that can't be beat. Make this the most memorable holiday season ever with a brand new car, truck, or SUV. With dozens of Sierra trucks and dozens of SUVs, Richard Carr has the biggest inventory they've had in 2 years. Right now, get 3.9% interest for well-qualified buyers on GMC Sierra and Terrain trucks in stock. Also 3.99% financing on Buick Encore, Buick Envisions, and Buick Enclaves in stock. When it comes to the Sierras, for example, all these vehicles have various bells and whistles, but the Sierra, shine a little spotlight on that one. How about best-in-class towing, unsurpassed strength, premium comfort? Right now, 3.9% financing. Current GMC or Buick owners also get a $2,500 loyalty rebate on qualified GMC Sierra trucks. Perhaps you're not in the market looking for a new vehicle, but you just want to drive your car or truck a little while longer. Well, their award-winning service department is standing by to keep you on the road. Go to richardcar.com. You can check out all their various service specials and set an appointment for quick and reliable service. They've also got dozens of quality pre-owned cars and trucks in stock under $20,000 as well. So whether you're looking for a brand new vehicle, whether you're looking for a pre-owned vehicle, whether you're looking to just get your current vehicle serviced, for 23 years in Central Texas, Richard Carr has built a reputation as the people you can count on for all of those needs and all of your automotive needs. Richard Carr, run by proud Central Texans. Log on to richardcar.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your home for holiday favorites for parties or time with the family, with various specials available while supplies last in store or ordering by phone, including 8 to 10 pound half spiral hams at $4.15 a pound. 12-pound pit hams at $4.35 a pound. 8 to 22-pound bone-in hams for $3.40 a pound. 14 to 16-pound whole raw turkeys at $2.85 a pound, and $4.80 a pound for 9 to 12-pound whole smoked turkeys. 6 to 8-pound mini pit hams for $5.99 a pound. Limit 4 of each item per customer. Call in advance to ensure availability or drop by Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. Waco Custom Marketplace, your full-service butcher shop for customized orders or cuts of your favorite steaks or beef tenderloin or specially ordered prime rib roast. WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Got 26, and now the Cats crank some tempo. Howard looking to throw again, and first down. Launches to the end zone. Jump ball, touchdown. R.J. Garcia with his first touchdown of the season. Filling in for their fallen star, and the Cats are stretching the lead.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments and financial advisor Chuck Verno, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Man, have we been fortunate to have Tim Brando on with us quite a bit the last couple of 2.5 years, and also quite a bit during the college football season. Fox Sports joins us. He did Fresno State Boise on the blue field, and obviously enjoyed the broadcast. And a heck of a game, a nice win for Fresno State. Tim, thank you for your time with Paul and Craig, and I'm David Smoak. Did the College Football Playoff Committee get it right?
Yeah, they did, and I'm surprised, shocked, actually. And I'm not shocked at some of the reaction today. from those in mainstream media that don't care nor give a rat's patoot about college football that somehow are up in arms because Alabama's not there. It's actually quite funny. But they didn't deserve to be there. They shouldn't have been there. And I'm glad they're not there, because the pure playoff privilege circumstances that I have been talking about for a long, long time, I think finally, people kind of began to understand what we were discussing here. Because when your best wins are against 4-loss teams, and that's what Alabama's wins were, then, sorry, that's not good enough. When you're bragging about losses because they were both on the road and you lost on the final play of the game, if that's all you got. And Nick Saban made a fool out of himself, begging because he thought he'd be favored in every game in Vegas. Why do we even have a season then, Coach? I mean, why do we even have a season? I mean, that would just mean if Alabama got in on the basis of being favored in every game, they would have won 15 national championships all under Nick, because he's favored in every game. I think the only time he hasn't been favored was against Georgia last year. So it's laughable. It's absolutely laughable. And for so many fans and really media members that don't care about college football to have problems with that, then I laugh at it. I really do. But I'm proud of what the committee did. I think they had a different reaction to what was going on, because they now know that we're headed to 12 teams and their credibility is at stake. Because when we go to 12, the conversation about who's in and who's out is going to be even more meticulous in a lot of ways. So they did the right thing this time and did not allow pure playoff privilege or brand bias to get in the way they normally have.
Tim, I wonder if having Gene Taylor in that room for TCU in that particular case, where they have to talk about it. Now, I know we had him on the show a few weeks ago, and he says, look, you got to put all your biases at the door. But if I'm sitting at a table with the Kansas State AD, and then TCU comes up and then say that they just lost to your team, that's not impressive, and have to look that guy in the eye, I might not be able to back that up very well if I was an Alabama proponent in that moment.
Well, that's been true with this for quite some time. It's another one of the reasons why I don't think current administrators need to be on this committee. Whatever the committee is, I think we need to remove the veil of impropriety or potential impropriety from the room. This isn't like the NCAA tournament selection committee where we're picking at larges and 35, 36, whatever the number is now with the 68 teams. We need to have more objectivity, and we need to have greater vetting of these guys. Your point is a good one. And there have been many times when I think it played into the hands of more powerful schools in the bigger conferences. It certainly did not hurt that he was on that committee. I'm not going to say that it didn't, but trust me, if that's the case, more than just a few times, people like Gene Smith of Ohio State have been on that committee. Okay. And Gene's a reputable guy, but you're going to tell me that doesn't affect the potential of Ohio State moving from number 7 or 6, whatever it was in 2014, to 4, and TCU dropped from 3 to 6. I mean, every year that kind of stuff could happen. I'm glad you pointed it out, because there's a modicum of truth to it, no doubt about it. I mean, these are human beings. We're all affected in some manner by where we're from and what football we're seeing the most, that kind of thing. So it's a hard thing to do. I do believe this, though. When we go to 12 or we go to 16, once we get to that point, it's going to be about competition, not about selection. And I think that's ultimately what we all want it to be. We want it to be about competition rather than selection. And when you have that many in, the cause for concern about, a bias is lessened by a great degree.
Tim, what did you think of a second straight year with a dramatic, goal line stand to win a Big 12 championship? And obviously that brought TCU's perfect season to a close, but thankfully they still make the playoffs. So I guess a two-part question. Your thoughts on the Big 12 title outcome, but also how important do you think it is for the conference that TCU got in and it's not Oklahoma being the representative of the brand once again?
Well, it's huge. It's huge that someone like TCU out of a power conference, yes, but someone that's sort of new to the party. We're talking about a team that a few years ago, on the same weekend LSU was playing Alabama in the game of the century, was playing Utah in the Mountain West Conference, okay? And both teams were in the top 10. So think about that, where those two programs have come from. Utah just won the Pac-12, beating SC a second time. And here's TCU playing for a chance to win their league in an unbeaten season, and they're rejected by a team that they had beaten earlier, come from 18 down in a game Spencer and I had in mid-season, in mid-October, but also a team that lost to Tulane, too, okay?
Yeah.
The Green Wave, who will be playing in the Cotton Bowl, beat Kansas State, who was a top 10 program, and just knocked off TCU, who's going to be playing for a national championship. So that's about parity. That's about the evolution of the college game. It's about names that maybe are not synonymous with the sport being as much a part of the sport as those that do have big brand names. This is forward-thinking understanding of where we are in the college game, and I think it's I tip my cap to all those teams. And I put Tulane, I don't know that it's out yet, but I put Tulane in my top 10. I thought they deserved to be ranked 10th. And in the future, a team like Tulane is going to be one whale of a story in the field of 12 or the field of 16.
Yeah, and how much would, if there was 12, and I know that's for a couple of years, would Utah and Kansas State come into play with how they're playing right now?
Well, sure. As a matter of fact, Utah would be they're 8th, so they'd be getting a bye the opening week with 3 losses. Think about that. A 3-loss team with a bye because they're ranked 8th. So 5, 6, 7, and 8 are at home. 9, 10, 11, and 12 go on the road. Somebody takes issue with that, I would point out, well, Utah played a road game at Florida they didn't have to play week 1. They also beat USC twice. Did they earn the right to say that they're in the top 8? Absolutely they did. Mm-hmm. So, again, I go back to, you got to understand and follow the game. We got people involved that don't follow the game, that have a voice and a mouthpiece, and people react to what they hear, okay? And I'll say it one more time to my friends at the 4-Letter Network. Stephen A. Smith has no business talking about college football. None.
Yep.
Okay, he does not. You're doing yourself a disservice allowing him to sway the minds of many. It's you're appealing to the lowest common denominator, the fans that don't watch college football. Just because Alabama's Alabama doesn't mean they get in. Too bad. Your only wins were against 4-loss teams. Period. End of story.
Yeah, Tim, I think that, if I was in charge of ESPN and I had a guy on my network telling people not to watch a game that was on my network, I might have a talk with him about what we tell people to do.
Well, it's pretty, listen, I like Stephen A. I do. I think his value to ESPN is incredible. A lot of times his opinions are the same as mine on a number of issues. But I think when it's about discussing college football and just raising your voice and talking about Alabama, that's all a part of the entertainment value that he's supposed to bring. But if it's just entertainment and it's got no substance, and college football, Stephen A. is very passionate, and that's one of the things I love about him. Simultaneously, fake passion, a college football fan will weed out in a heartbeat. Okay, that's fake passion, because you're not keeping up with what's going on if you have no understanding of how strong TCU's season was, if you have no understanding of how competitive TCU has been and continues to be, and what they accomplished through the course of their regular season. That's just, I'm sorry, they had more impressive wins on their resume than Alabama even thought about it.
Tim, you were calling the Mountain West Championship game. Fresno State and Jeff Tedford get the big win over Boise State. Your thoughts on what you saw, and nice win by the Bulldogs.
Jake Hayner's a great quarterback, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with him in his future. Those two teams are
were picked at the very top of the league, but both were really struggling early. They had 3 wins between them halfway through their season. Okay, and Boise State was they were both 1-4 after 5 weeks. Now think about that. Okay, Bedford lost his quarterback just as he thought he had him. They carted him off at the Coliseum in USC. He misses 4 games. They go 2-2 in those 4 games, and somehow, after having his leg shattered, he worked his way back. We were talking to him on a Zoom, fellas, getting ready for this game in a hyperbaric facility. He was literally in a tube talking to us on the phone as we were getting ready. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. But a tough, strong-minded young man, and a kid that they thought would be at Washington, and then he came back because Tedford was cleared with his heart issues from COVID that he experienced a couple of years ago, and he came back to finish off his season. Boise State was decimated, and then they hired, I think Dirk did it on his own. He just offered his services, and Dirk Cutter came back to run the offense for Andy Avalos, and they simplified their offense, allowed a redshirt freshman to play the position, and they just started, running the football and allowing their offensive line, which is pretty good, to take over, and then they got on a streak. So it was a great game. I'd never been on the blue field. It was an experience getting there, but once I got there, I had a blast. Boise's a wonderful town, and it was kind of cool when I think back to my, the time when I began pounding the pavement about expansion. It was largely because of Boise State and what Chris Peterson had been doing. And they had like 2 really near misses. One field goal that went wide right during the BCS period that allowed Nevada to beat them, and it cost them a chance to play for it all. And I think that year was the year they beat Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl. So they truly were the fly in the ointment, the first of the flies in the ointment that I used to talk about on CBS all those years. And in a lot of ways, think about it, fellas, Boise State, Utah, and TCU were the 3 programs that elevated post-BCS. And 2 of the 3 have already gone to power conferences, and now 1 of the 3 is playing in the college football playoff. And Boise's still looking for a bigger home. I think it's the potential of Fresno State and Boise State being in another league within the next 12 months is very good.
Yeah, did you have a chance to visit much with Jeremiah Dickey? He's Mac Roach's right-hand man while you were there?
I did not, unfortunately. Okay. I did get a chance to talk with Terry Toomey, the AD at Fresno State, and so did Spencer. Spencer went to school with him in Tulsa when they were growing up together, or maybe they went to the same school but at different times. I'm trying to remember now, but I'm telling you right now, these athletic directors in the Mountain West and a couple in a few other leagues are in major conversations right now with Yormark and Kliavkoff. You can look for a lot of realignment coming up. I think the Deion Sanders hiring at Colorado should send you a strong message about the direction of their program changing. I believe there's a very good chance that they may be coming the Big 12's way.
And rumor has it, a rumor coming down the pipeline, is Deion might be on the verge of hiring Kent State head coach Sean Lewis to be his offensive coordinator, which would be a home run hire for Deion. And just your general thoughts on prime time in Boulder, Tim. I didn't see the match, but it looks like Colorado was, perhaps the only big school that really went after him this cycle. He takes the opportunity, and man, it's just amazing just what that hire's already done in a few short hours, really.
Yeah. At first I had a similar thought because of the political aspects of that university and how they've governed their football program really since the Gary Barnett era ended. And honestly, I had some consternation about it. But the more I thought about it and saw the welcome wagon that was waiting for him in Boulder, and then watching him through Barstool and his social media locations, his accounts, I thought, my God, he's already on his way. He's taken flight. And, Deion's been breaking banners for years, fellas. I mean, 35 years ago on the original game day, he had signed a contract with George Steinbrenner and we were about to do a Florida State game, and he did a little video tease for the start of our show because he was the first player to be a millionaire playing college football as an amateur. And he had a Trans Am that looked a lot like Burt Reynolds' Trans Am in Smokey and the Bandit. And he's driving up the driveway with the camera rolling, and he peeks out from his T-top that he has open and says, "Hey, Tim Brando, how you like me now?" And I mean, I thought, who besides him? You know, he learned. I think he and Bosworth, without question, he and Brian were the two guys that understood marketing before any other student athletes ever understood it. And he's just carried through with it. He's done a lot of good. He did a hell of a lot of good for the HBCUs. He transformed Jackson State, and I think they're going to be still very well off in the aftermath of Deion's exit. And I think you're going to see more and more young coaches of color come through the HBCUs to make their way in Division I college football. And so he's still blazing trails. Okay, I mean, it's clear he's blazing trails. And even though I had that first reaction that you did, after about 6 to 8 hours, I thought, "Oh, this is Deion. He's going to kick butt and take names." I mean, that's what's going to happen. And it may be signaling, maybe the under the smoke of the prime time part of the hire, underneath that smoke is a change of direction with regard to the university's view of how important college football is. And that's a great thing for fans and alumni of Colorado who have been just chomping at the bit to be relevant again.
Yes.
Other than that 1 year, I think in 2015 or 16 with McCartney, he won 10 games that year early, faded towards the end. They've had no consistency there, and he's going to bring all kinds of it to them, I think.
Chem, I know that we are honored to have a Heisman vote. We can't discuss our vote, but they will release the finalists here in about 20 minutes. What do you think Max Duggan showed, and do you feel like for those who just kind of blew him off that they might have a different perspective on him?
Yeah, without a doubt. You know, if he wins the game, you know, if he doesn't get stopped short by the length of a football, or TCU doesn't. I wish he had the ball.
Yeah.
Let me say that.
Yeah.
TCU was stopped short. Max Duggan did all he could to get him to that point. Then I think it would be his. I really do. That would be my opinion, even as someone that is a voter but isn't supposed to say who he's voting for. Max is the most incredible story of this college football season, particularly given what he's gone through to be in a position to quarterback a team in the college football playoff. So, yeah, and I think that the kid Stetson Bennett from Georgia has been really, really overlooked in many, many ways. If you haven't watched Georgia play, then you missed out on really what Stetson's season was all about, because he was really good. He followed up what was an incredible sort of rags to riches walk-on story as a national champion. Everybody in Georgia, I mean, everybody wanted him gone. They really didn't want him there. And all he's done is guide him right back to the precipice of winning 2 national titles back-to-back years. So I think that those guys figure prominently into the process. And historically, I've always used my third place vote for someone I thought should just be invited to New York, and I didn't have a chance to win it. But it would be a crime if they were not invited. And so, you know, those 2 guys in my mind are guys that really, really, you know, deserve to be there. The Caleb Williams thing is going to be interesting because I know everybody sort of has handed it to him going into the conference championship weekend. And I'm not sure that that feature that my colleagues did on Fox before the Pac-12 game, getting his nails done, is going to work in his favor or not. He probably still will win it, but if he doesn't, he will rue the day that he decided to write those letters on his fingernails.
Tim, which bowl game do you have? Do you know yet?
Oh, I don't have any. Fox only has the Holiday Bowl, so
okay.
I'm off the bat. I'm done. I'm my football season is over. I wish we had some more bowls, but we don't. You know, ESPN owns about 12 or 13 of them, I think. And, you know, we're not in the playoff structure. So maybe in a few years that'll change. But, you know, our conference championship games, for the most for the most part, are the end of our college football seasons. I'm going to take a couple of weeks off, get ready for the family to come by the Chateau, and then I'll leave on the 19th, I think, and go to the Big East to do some hoops at UConn and at Villanova with Rath. And then I'll take another couple of weeks off after Christmas and get back at it in earnest in January. I think January 7th I get started, and it's on the road to the Big East tournament. I'll be doing Big Ten and Big East games from January 7th on in the winter.
So be honest. I know you'd like to have a game tonight, much less this weekend or a bowl game. Is there a little bit of? It's not. How would you describe that feeling of not having that battering ram? Although it's a wonderful career and a lot of fun and all that, is there a little bit? What's the word you would say over the next couple of weeks now that you don't have a game?
I maybe 20 years ago, David, I might have felt that way. I get to ask that question a lot because I no longer do the NCAA tournament with CBS, and haven't since I went to Fox. And truthfully, it's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
Doing the eight games and 4 games in one day with 8 teams in the first round of the NCAAs. That's a lot to do. That's a lot. And if I were doing the first 2 weeks and I had an opportunity to punch a ticket for a team into the Final Four, I would miss it. But if you're only doing the first week, those games are like a blur. You do 4 in one day, then you sleep for a day and you try to catch up, and then you do 2 more games and your tournament is over. It seems like it's forgotten very quickly because once the Sweet 16 starts, people have forgotten what happened in the first 2 rounds. In college football, I think it's somewhat similar from the standpoint of having would I love to be doing more bowl games? Sure, I would. When I was at CBS, I did the Fiesta Bowl in '98 when K-State beat Syracuse. Michael Bishop, Donovan McNabb were playing. It was New Year's Eve in the desert. It was awesome. I do miss doing, some bowl games. That would be a lot of fun. But I don't know that unless I was given the first 2 weeks, not just the first week of the NCAAs, I really don't miss it. I enjoy watching it. I'm a fan of both, obviously. But until Fox gets into the bowl business, I'm just going to enjoy it. I'm also to the point now where I really love being with my grandkids during the holidays, and I don't think about it very much.
Yeah.
Maybe if I were 20, 25 years younger, it would be something that was really missing. But I feel blessed to be doing what I'm doing, and having the time to be with family during the holidays is more of a, something to treasure as it were, as opposed to, gosh, I wish I were somewhere else. I can't imagine wanting to be anywhere other than with my kids and my grandkids during the holidays. So that's a tough one, but, we'll see what the future holds moving forward. College football landscape is ever changing. It would appear that maybe the company I work for is going to get with its portfolio involved in more games and maybe some postseason. And if they do, I'm hopeful that I'll have an assignment for one of those.
Tim, great job again with the game with Fresno State and Boise State, and we have appreciated your time throughout the college season. It's become a great part of what we do, and the chat room and the text line and the people with feedback is great for this segment, so we appreciate you again.
Well, thank you, David. That means a lot to me. It really does. And listen, as I said at the first of the year, I thought Baylor was really going to be TCU, as it turned out. And I thought TCU would, if Baylor didn't finish 4th, I thought the chances of someone from the Big 12 would. And heck, TCU wound up number 3. And I don't care what Boo Corrigan said. There's no question in my mind that they were going to keep Ohio State and Michigan apart in the first round, okay? Because if they meet again, and it's for the national title, we're talking about maybe the biggest rating in the history of college football for national TV. But I think TCU's got a great chance in this matchup with Michigan. They could really shock the world here. When you look back at the numbers that Purdue got for the entire game against that Michigan defense, TCU is better than Purdue. Okay, just remember that as you get ready for that matchup.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Tim Brando, Fox Sports with us, has been on with us maybe 8 to 12 times during the football season and also before that. Just to appreciate his time. Now, we have David Hellman around the corner, and we have to take a break, but Craig brought this up earlier. We really haven't discussed much about the bowl games. Again, 8 of the 10 teams in the Big 12, 12 of the 14 future Big 12 teams, other than Texas and Oklahoma, they're included as well, are in a bowl game. Baylor is going to play in Fort Worth on the campus of TCU at the Armed Forces Bowl against the Air Force Academy. I look forward to that. That'll be great as an Air Force brat. So your guys' thoughts about that bowl game and where they're going?
Well, I mean, we'll get into a deeper dive the next few weeks on the Big 12 games and all of that. Just so much going on right now. Like, for example, we got the Sean Lewis rumor going on, joining Deion as OC, which would be a massive hire for Deion. Kayshon Boutte, LSU, announced he's coming back for another year.
Yes.
Miami defensive tackle Darrell Jackson, who started every game as a sophomore, transfer portal. Just stuff's flying left and right. So
Michigan State lost a really good defensive lineman who was a heck of a player as a freshman.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot going on, and we'll break down like all of the different Big 12 games and where they're going, and maybe just we run them all down and give like really short spurts tomorrow. But as far as Baylor goes, like, you know, this is a game that you just have to go out and win and just get the season over with, in my mind. It sucks, and it's a little bit embarrassing that it's at TCU's place. I mean, I'm not going to try and sugarcoat it. I never do, and I'm not going to start now. It's weird to be playing at a Big 12 stadium for your bowl game. And I know it's disappointing for a lot of people, but you know what was disappointing? 6-6 was disappointing. And 6-6 is what got them in this position. I know what even got more people into a fervor was how they ended up in this game based on the standings in the Big 12. But past a certain point, you're an at-large. And Baylor does not have a big fan base that's going to pick up and travel by the tens of thousands to Phoenix for this team versus, you know, Oklahoma or another team that you could pick. I know Texas Tech fans were in a total meltdown over Oklahoma jumping them in the bowl order, and I get it, but for Baylor, I'm not surprised that they ended up where they did. I had a feeling that was coming based on the season that they had and just the complete lack of momentum entering the offseason. Now, Dave Aranda's kicked the tires, and he's obviously fired his defensive coordinator, and he's fired his safeties and special teams coordinator. So there are changes on the horizon. I do think this is going to be a very important game for them just for morale. And also, I think those practices are going to be massive for these young guys because they have to replace a lot next year. Like, imagine trying to replace basically both of your lines without having these practices. I mean, that would be really tough. So I think it's great that they're in a bowl game. Yeah, it could be sexier. Yeah, it's embarrassing to be playing at TCU, but go fill it up. There's plenty of folks in the area. Get them a win, and let's get into the offseason.
Yeah. Look, you need to get used to trying to win at that stadium anyway. Might as well try to do it.
Exactly right, man.
Not against TCU. And look, Air Force is going to be tough. I mean, that like
but they have at least a little more time than just playing them this week.
Exactly. But it's still an offense that you never see, right? And even having all that preparation, you know, part of that preparation is teaching the guys on the scout team how to do it. You know, so there's all that goes into it. Look, you lose 3 games on the way out, you become the at-largest of at-larges in the conference, and that's what happened there. They didn't have the feel-good story of Kansas being in their first bowl in forever. They're not Oklahoma, so they don't get to say, that we weren't very good, but we should be in the Cheez-It Bowl over Texas Tech. And look, Texas Tech, you're lucky. You don't want that smoke in the Cheez-It Bowl. I'm coming for you, Craig.
You have no idea. Other than UCF, you just
I'm not gonna pound my chest over this Oklahoma team. Tech would give them a better fight.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you're just there. You're there. Go win it. Like, I know it's not the best thing, but honestly, what's the alternative? Were you gonna, if you're gonna be mad about trudging up to Fort Worth, were you gonna trudge to Memphis or Phoenix? That's part of this.
And would you rather finish 7-6, or would you rather finish 6-7 with 4 straight losses and a loss to Air Force in the final game at TCU Stadium? Like the options here are very clear. Go win this freaking game, and if you don't, it's going to get worse. I mean, that's.
Do you have the tweet from Brett McMurphy that I sent you about some of the back channel type discussions? Garrett, I sent that to you yesterday afternoon. Sam Bradshaw sent me a copy of that too. That there was, and I don't think the Big 12 really is in control here. It's the bowl games. And there was a lot of
it's at large. It's not their choice.
Was a lot of, that's what I just said. Exactly. And so here's No. It's from Brett McMurphy from the Action HQ. Put that one down. Go ahead and take that one down. He was mentioning that there was a lot of back room type discussions about who should go where. And in the end, I saw some that were upset with the conference. The conference really has nothing to do with it. As Craig mentioned, it's at large. Now, a couple of the quick notes just because we need to mention them because we're a sports talk show. Baylor had a huge win Friday night against Gonzaga. It wasn't easy. They outscored Gonzaga 8-0 in the last 8-minute 38. It looked like it could have been like their 3 losses into the non-conference schedule. They had the win. DeGrom to the Rangers and Justin Verlander to the Mets.
Trey and Turner to the Dodgers is huge deal too. The DeGrom to the Rangers thing, really interesting. Hope he's healthy. For their sake, their rotation is now him and John Gray, Jake Odorizzi, and Martin Perez, and a young guy to be named after spring training. So hopefully that's better for them. They're spending a lot of money trying to get butts in those seats.
One more thing. Do you have the Owen McCown tweet? Owen McCown from Rusk High School, part of that McCown family lineage. Well, Deion said some of you can enter the portal. He is. He's headed into where it is, the transfer portal, and we'll find out where he lands, wherever his next stop might be. When we come back, David Hellman on the Cowboys in the NFL, and so much more to get to, and this is 365 Sports.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
This holiday season, shop the great selection of new cars and trucks at Allen Samuels in Waco. During the Big Finish sales event, get amazing deals on new 2022 Ram trucks. Designed to be durable, functional, and stylish, Ram trucks give you that first-class feel with luxurious leather trim seating options, exceptional legroom, and storage. If we don't have exactly what you want in stock, we can build the custom truck of your dreams and order it today. Hurry in, wrap up some of the best deals of the year on Ram trucks at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
First and goal. He's found 5 different targets. He's going to hand it off. It's Pollard, and he's across for the Dallas touchdown.
It's time for our weekly segment with David Hellman of FoxSports.com.
We will hear from David momentarily from Fox Sports. I mentioned the college basketball. Houston and Texas remain number 1 and 2 in the country. KU 6, Baylor 12, Iowa State 20, and TCU 24th. We're now joined by David Hellman. Fox Sports covers the NFL and the Cowboys with us on Mondays on 365 Sports. David, if the Cowboys did what they did to the Colts, what the hell are they going to do to the Texans?
I hadn't thought that far ahead to think about who the next opponent was. Yeah, I mean, in my experience, I feel like when you play a team that bad, actually, y'all will appreciate this. I think I'm going to dig way back in history. I remember in 2003. Oklahoma beat A&M like 77-0. And everybody was like, oh my God, if they did that to A&M, what are they going to do to Baylor? And like, it's never that bad, you know, like they didn't beat Baylor worse than they beat A&M. Like beatings like that only come around every once in a while. Like you're not going to score 33 points in a quarter very often, even against terrible teams. So I firmly expect the Cowboys to beat the Texans and cover whatever the spread is, but I don't know if we should get used to seeing something like that because I've never seen something like what we saw them do last night.
It was a 2-point game. I mean, it was nip tuck, and then the fourth quarter happened, and I mean that and I think David, that's kind of where I asked you last week, is there something different about this team? I think what I'm seeing is that they are not necessarily consistently good for 4 quarters all the time, but when it's time to feast, they seem to really key in on that, like teams in the past maybe haven't.
Yeah, I'm like, it's fun. I mean, the score was a lot different. Obviously, they scored a lot more points. They had this crazy quarter, but I thought this game was very similar to the Thanksgiving game, to be blunt about it. And it's honestly a lot of the same issues that still concern me because, again, we saw them do this last year, and it's a little bit more impressive. The pass rush has a little bit more juice. The run game is a little bit better. They're using Tony Pollard more. But, like, at the end of the day, we saw the Cowboys feast on crappy teams last year. They did something very, very similar. I don't remember the final tally, but, I mean, they scored 27 or 28 points in a quarter against Atlanta last year. They wound up winning that game 43-3. I saw the stat going around last night that, they've had more 40-point games than anybody since Mike McCarthy took over. They're very, very good in this Mike McCarthy era at just beating the brakes off the teams that they're supposed to. I got to give them credit for that. But, and I'm not trying to sound like a downer, like they should feel good about themselves, but the inconsistencies still concern me. It wasn't penalties last night. Last night it was more, again, I mean, Dak Prescott's averaging a turnover a game. I just think that's got to get better before the playoffs get here and before they start playing better teams. So that's what I look at is, it's a nice win. It's very fun that they were able to do what they did. But I spent all of the second half of last season waiting for them to snap out of some of their bad habits, and they never did. So I'll be curious to see if they're capable of cleaning some of this up here over the last 5 games.
Yeah, nobody will tug at your emotion. If you're a Cowboys fan, nobody will pull you in and drop you on your head probably more often than they. I got just a football question. Paul and I trade text during Cowboys games. It was 21-19. The Colts had just scored, and they went for 2. Cowboys scored, and then they're up 9. Why would Jeff? And I know he's learning on the fly. Why go for 2 right there with like 13 something minutes left in the game? Even though I understand that you didn't think it'd be much more scoring. Why go for 2 there, David?
The funny thing is, typically when somebody asks me a question like that, I'm like, well, here's such and such the reasons. And the head coach has coached more football than I could ever imagine. So, maybe he just knows something I don't. Jeff Saturday has not. Like, I mean, again, we like he hasn't. That was like his fourth NFL game. Before that, he had a bad record at a high school, coaching high school football. So like, he might have. I mean, if you're looking for rationale, I'm not sure there is any. I think it was a bad decision to chase points before you had to. I guess maybe if you're trying to justify it, you could say something along the lines of, with the way their pass rush was getting after us, we didn't know how many more opportunities we would have to drive the field and score. So why not try to tie the game with the opportunity that we had? But I think it was far too early to try to do that. Ultimately, I don't think it matters. But yeah, it felt like a desperate decision from a team that knew that it didn't really belong in that game. And it's funny, I didn't see a 33-point quarter coming, but even when the game was 21-19, I remember thinking like, okay, the Cowboys might not feel very good about this game when it's all said and done, but they're going to win. That's how confident I was about the level of the mismatch on the lines, like specifically like the Cowboys going against the Colts. I was like, when it comes to nut cutting time and you've got to drive the field in the fourth quarter with the passing game, I just thought the Colts were overmatched. So yeah, short answer is I would assume that they probably felt desperate about trying to get those points back.
David, it's OBJ Day in Dallas. He's there and taking the tour and getting recruited. He's already made 2 other stops. What do you think would have to happen? Medical? Because I would think that Jerry's probably made peace with the money, but the medical would be the only thing that could stop this train?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I'd like to see the price tag go because, like, I've heard some projections where, I heard somebody saying Odell wanted 2 years at like a 2-year deal worth $40 million or something, and I was like, whoa, I don't know about all that. So I still think price is an issue depending on what the price is. But more importantly than that, I think it's the medical. It's almost at the point, and I hope people trust, knowing my background, like I would love for Odell Beckham to be on the Cowboys. I think that sounds fun as hell. But it honestly feels like we have suspiciously little information about how ready he is to play. And the word on the street is that he's not working out for any of these teams. I mean, I think you'd have to be crazy to sign anybody to a significant deal sight unseen. So that's what I want to know is, I mean, he's only 9-10 months removed from a second surgery. He's 30 years old. I would like to think the Cowboys can get a spirited workout out of him before they agree to sign him. And I'm curious because it's getting close to 6 o'clock over there in y'all's time zone. I feel like if something was super imminent, we might have heard something by now, and that hasn't been the case. So I don't know. I'm curious to see if there are any snags, but it would be fun.
David, my perspective of this is, one, it's going to cost money. There's 5 games left in the regular season. He can't be ready this week. I would think he may not be ready. He may not be ready at all. And I know that he's a dynamic talent, so that's trump what I said. But, man, they've got a good chemistry, which seems like a pretty damn good team. I know Gallup has gotten obviously better the last 2 or 3 weeks. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Would it be worth it with not many games left in the season?
I can't definitively tell you whether or not it's worth it unless I know the price. I mean, I just said right. I would not want to give Odell Beckham $20 million a year. So it completely depends on how much he thinks he's worth. But just in a vacuum, like if we can just assume that he's relatively healthy and we can assume that the price isn't crazy, I absolutely think it's worth it. Because one thing, I think the Cowboys, as good as they are, and it sounds silly to nitpick a 50-point performance, but I think they're lacking an explosive element to their offense. Michael Gallup is coming off an ACL surgery. He's had some moments, but we have not seen him be the down the field playmaker that he was known to be very often. CeeDee Lamb's a great player, but at no point in his career has he been some sort of burner that takes the top off of the defense. And I think you kind of saw that last night. I mean, a big part of the reason I think the Cowboys struggled in that game is that the Colts were sitting on everything. And we've seen this throughout the last couple of years. Is a great way to beat the Cowboys is to
I think we lost you. Okay.
Oh,
there you go. No, you're good.
Am I back? Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, the Cowboys are bad at being patient. Dak is bad at being patient. Like, teams are content to let him dink and dunk his way down the field because I think they know at some point he'll get antsy for the big play. And the Cowboys don't have that big play element to mitigate that. So even, and I hear you, like, you know, I would imagine Odell won't be ready until like the last 1 or 2 games of the regular season, if that. But if he can give you like 15 to 25 snaps a game where there is a dynamic element that defenses have to honor, beating them over the top or, you know, giving you catch and run explosive plays, I absolutely think that's worth it because we just haven't seen the Cowboys consistently have that element to their offense. Like I said, whether or not it's worth it, I think it depends on more factors than I know the answer to. But if he's healthy, I think he could be a big difference maker, even in a limited role.
Thank you, David. Appreciate your time as always.
Thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
you jumping on. David Hellman, Fox Sports on the Cowboys. Here's a note that we'll have in a minute. By the way, Mac Rhodes, I think this week will be Thursday, not tomorrow. Big 12 meetings. And I would not be surprised because they mentioned sometime early in December, if that 2023 football schedule comes out. They're at Big 12 meetings this week. So he'll be with us, it appears, on Thursday of this week. And so, Garrett, do you have it? Here we go. These are your 4 players invited to downtown New York for the Heisman Trophy finalists. Georgia quarterback Stetson Bennett, TCU quarterback Max Duggan, C.J. Stroud, Ohio State, and Caleb Williams of Southern Cal.
Yeah, Tennessee fans are losing their minds right now. They're losing their minds over Hendon Hooker getting no invitation. And Bennett, that feels like a very Johnny-come-lately invitation, like one that probably got sent this weekend after that game wrapped up. The other 3 I don't think come as much of a surprise. I think Duggan sealed his fate and get an invite before this weekend, but certainly solidified it. And obviously, you know, my whole thing, just going back to like about a month ago, was like he just needs to be in New York. Like, I don't care who you say you want to win, but Max Duggan needs to be in New York. So I'm glad to see that he's going to have representation there. So Caleb Williams, that's a no-brainer and might be the winner. Certainly the favorite right now. C.J. Stroud, I don't know that he's ever been really seen as the favorite or the potential winner, but he's always been in that 3 or 4 spot. You asked me this weekend who I'd vote for, and I had 1A, 1B, and then after that, I said whatever. Like, Williams or Duggan to me, and then after that, whoever you want to invite, I'm cool with. But that's to me. Flip a coin if you want to, or you just pick what one you want to, and I'll keep to myself who I'd pick. But that's the battle for me. But I do think Hendon Hooker has an argument, and Tennessee fans have a beef with him not being there. But yeah, it's a good crew. I think Stetson Bennett's probably the surprise. And like I said, I think that probably unfolded here over the last couple of days more than anything else.
I think if you look at Stetson Bennett's stats, compared to who we thought he was at the end of last year's run, more of just a guy. And then, of course, he had a huge SEC championship. They won the national title. His stats this year are unbelievable. They really are.
Yeah, I want to be very clear. He's a very good player. I'm just saying I don't think that he was like a lock to go to New York.
No.
Or at least I didn't feel that way until like this weekend. I know there was talk about it, but I didn't feel like that was just that's happening like it was with Caleb, obviously, and probably with Stroud and even to an extent Duggan.
Paxton, of course, who's upset about a lot of the awards. The thing that got Bijan, 12 carries, 29 yards against TCU. And in the game with Alabama, that was a close game, he didn't have much in that game, despite the late surge, the 200-yard-plus games, what he did against Kansas, what he did against Baylor, what he did for most of the guts of the year. But that probably was what came back to hurt him being a part of any kind of list.
Yeah, I think there's some second-guessing that can be done if you're like, why didn't Bijan win a Heisman Trophy? Like that you can place some blame on Sark at certain times. I also think they had very talented complimentary back in Roshan Johnson and don't worry. Bijan will win the Doak Walker, and he'll be able to take that home. But, yeah, I mean, he could have done a little bit more and probably would have – if they had like another month in the season, he might have been invited to New York, you know?
All right, when we come back, we will wrap it up with Paul's Top 5, and this is 365 Sports.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, this is Paul Catalina. I recently got engaged to the love of my life, but the most important thing that I had to do before I popped the question was get that perfect ring. And I know nothing about rings. So I went to the wedding ring store, Boozer's Jewelers on Valley Mills Drive. I knew I needed a custom design, and that's exactly what they do. 9 out of 10 of their engagement rings are designed in-house. The entire process took less than a month, and they were great every step of the way. Great options on financing, excellent selection, and talented designers. My fiance and I get nonstop compliments on the ring. I only deserve credit for doing the smartest thing I could, walking into Boozers and letting them work their magic. Your one-of-a-kind fiance deserves a one-of-a-kind ring, and that's what you get at Boozers. Boozers Jewelers, the wedding ring store on Valley Mills Drive.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Howdy, Chet Garner here, professional guide, searching for bears in the wild. But not just any bears, oh no, a particular kind. With hundreds of thousands roaming freely in the wild, yet still hard to spot unless you know the signs. There they are, Baylor bears. If you're a bear enthusiast or even a bear yourself, join me and let's find some bears in the wild.
Join the expedition at baylor.edu/alumni.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Top 5 sneaky good players in the portal. These are some that may fly under the radar. My number one you might have heard of if you're in recruiting, but he plays in Indiana. So, may just not have heard of him. Number 5, Ray Davis from Vandy, 1,000 yards. Their leading rusher this year at Vandy for a 5-7 team. You plug this guy into a team that an offense that's better, and he's a veteran. Obviously, he's a smart guy. He went to Vandy, so this is someone I think who can help you right away, especially. And this is I believe he might be also a one and done. So this might be 1 year for Ray Davis and then off to the next thing. But certainly can help a team. 1,000 yards already on the wall for him.
Yeah, he's a grad transfer.
Yeah.
So he only has the 1 year. But, very solid player, 1K season, like you said. He gives a good blocker. He could also catch the ball as well. So he's not just a, plain Jane running back by any stretch. And, Vandy had a respectable year when all was said and done. I mean, they got a very much an uphill climb still to go, but at least grabbed a little bit of momentum there towards the the end of the season. And, at the same time, they're also getting hit with some transfer portal guys. Had a quarterback also enter. But, Ray Davis is a good player, and he'll be a nice pickup for somebody.
Yeah, and since I did this list, there's been a whole bunch more guys jump in today. But, you have to roll with it. Number 4. UCF quarterback Mikey Keene, 7-3 in his starts or in his at UCF. He's played in 15 games. UCF has won most of those games. Now, look, he's not. I don't think he's going to be up there with the Devin Learys of the world in this. But look, if he went across the state. Like we said about Gary Bohannon earlier, and played at the rival USF, that might not be bad, or there might be somewhere for him that fits. But John Rice Plumlee's coming back. Mikey Keene wins games. I mean, he puts up some good numbers when he does it. He's a good leader on the field. I'd take a shot at him.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're a quarterback, you're probably getting a phone call, and if you're not, then you're not probably destined to be playing college football. I mean, everybody needs Baylor would love to have another quarterback right now, but they can't get anybody because it's, obviously you can't add players right now that can play for you right now. But, yeah, I mean, this is the premier position, and I thought that for the time that we saw him out there, he did a more than a respectable job and did a great job, in fact, the fact that they had to bounce around with him and Rice Plumlee. Like, that was – you see, kudos to Tulane, by the way. Like, we need to talk about the outcomes tomorrow. But that was a, great win for Tulane, and UCF a valiant effort on their part in the American Championship game. But obviously they had some quarterback health issues in that game, and Rice Plumlee there at the end coming back in after getting benched was interesting, but made a little bit of effort. But Mikey Keene proved himself. He'll be somebody that I think is definitely sought after, and somebody will get a good player. But this is just the reality of the transfer portal eras. If you got more than one quarterback, you're probably going to only have one quarterback after a while, because it's just hard to hold on to these guys, especially when they've got some skins on the wall.
Number 3, Elijah Spencer, wide receiver from Charlotte. This is a guy who has 943 receiving yards, 9 touchdowns this season. He's in the portal. He's their leading receiver, was the Conference USA Freshman of the Year in 2021. Obviously looking to go up a level, Charlotte, with the coaching change. I'm sure that Biff Poggi doesn't want to lose their number 1 receiver, but probably looking to go somewhere. And if you need a wide receiver, and you want somebody who's had some catches and some yards and some experience, I don't know, you could maybe have your offices less than a mile from here. I don't know. But this might be a guy you want to give a call to.
Who are you referring to?
Elijah Spencer. I'm sorry, Baylor, at wide receiver.
Oh, a mile from here. Okay. Yeah. I thought you were talking about a mile from Charlotte. I was like, huh? Yeah. They had another receiver jumped in the portal as well, so I'm not sure if they're, want to plan on playing together to get a little package duo coming out of Charlotte or not. But obviously they've made a coaching change. Biff Poggi's going to, I'm sure, try to, keep as much as he can. But this is also reality. If you're not basically 10 schools, then you're always, and even those schools are at risk of losing guys. I mean, even they have to manage the playing time factor. But yeah, we're going to see a lot of players jumping up a level, and Elijah Spencer will be amongst the batch. I saw a lot of SEC interest, or at least rumored interest. Not sure exactly which schools, but it felt like there was some smoke in that direction that he could be SEC bound. Not sure what to put into rumors right at this moment, but yeah, good player.
Number 2, Carson Steele, running back from Ball State, 1,554 yards, I believe, this year for Carson Steele. He will get a look. He will get lots of looks somewhere. This is a guy who can tote the rock. And at Ball State, look, you're probably going to fall, behind a bit of a veil there, and people aren't going to know you all that well. But 1,554 yards at Ball State, somebody that, again, if you need a running back, you can do a lot worse than Carson Steele.
Yeah, he also had double-digit touchdowns. I've seen him in a lot of box scores particularly. I mean, watched him a little bit, very little bit, but saw him in a lot of box scores coming through every weekend. Always see him with a high rushing total. But yeah, great numbers, like 14 touchdowns, a bunch of yards, like you said, and a lot of running backs out there.
I've seen him a couple of times. He could probably play for pretty much anyone.
Yeah, he's a good player. And number 1, look, this was Indiana's biggest recruit that they had. He was the number 43 or 46 recruit in the country, depending on what service you use. But you may have forgotten about him because he went to Indiana, and they were just bad this year. But Dasan McCullough, I would think that this one, he's going to go to Notre Dame because his dad is the linebackers coach there, but he didn't go there in the first place knowing that. So maybe he will go somewhere else, but not a starter, but 6 tackles for loss or 7 tackles for loss, 4 sacks this year. And he was a freshman, but he played a lot. Really, really good linebacker. He's like 6'4", 225, prototypical build. So people will be all over him. He might be, the 3rd or 4th ranked transfer, depending on who's been in today or not, depending on where he was just a year ago coming in as a freshman and what his measurables are. But yeah, this one, this is the best one on this list. And it was no question when I said it, like that's the guy who I was going to put the best one on this list that most people maybe not have heard of because most people probably don't watch Indiana.
No. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been so surprised by Michael Penix and what he's doing at Washington. But yeah, that's a guy who's got some OU smoke surrounding him right now. We'll see on that front, but at least there was earlier some talk about, maybe him favoring the Sooners. I think he's from Cincinnati originally, so maybe Scott Satterfield can go jump in the mix and get something done there. I don't know, but yeah, good player and certainly already – it's got to be a fun feeling for a guy like that, like probably – not a whole lot of attention being paid to you at Indiana and your career's, moving on along, and now you get this brand new opportunity to jump into the portal and go land at a much bigger program, or at least in a much better spot for you as a player and individual. It's a cool thing, the transfer portal. I mean, there's definitely downsides to it, but I think for, all the guys on this list and probably dozens of others, it's a really cool deal.
I wonder how many players will be in the portal at this time compared to last year. We'll have to ask Max.
Well, there's already over 500.
I think last year there was much more than that. Of course, college basketball is like fire ants as well. Thanks to Biscuits and Gravy for the Dave Aranda autographed Baylor football right behind me. Also, our sponsors from start to finish since April the 6th, and so many that have joined us since that time of 2020. The chat room, Paxton. Man, we love your passion for Bijan Robinson. Also, the text line, those of you who've done that, for Jacob, Emery, Jack, Garrett, Craig, and Paul. Levi's out there somewhere. He only flies at night because he's like a bat. I'm David Smoak. Thank you very much. Another day tomorrow, and this is 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a